Recording in progress.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, and welcome to the council members, to our submitters, staff, those joining us online. Thank you for your time today. Welcome, Councillor. There will be people joining us as we progress through the day with this on the live stream, and we will just acknowledge as they turn up to speak. Right, into the opening kouta kia. Kia hora, te marino, kia whapapapa, pēnāmu te moana. Hei hurahai mā tātou, ei te reni nei, araha atu, araha mai, tātou ie, tātou katoa, hui e, takia. Apologies, we have apologies from Kaipokahiri Tumahai and Kaipokahiri Madgewick. Can I have a move and a second to please resolve that those apologies be received and accepted? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Burden. Thank you, Councillor Martin. Lovely. Declarations of interest. There's been no changes made to the interest register, but as always, please ensure that that's kept up to date with any circumstantial changes you have. Right, on to the public hearings, and I'd like to formally welcome members of the public that are here with us today. So kia ora katoa and welcome. On behalf of Western District Council, I'd like to thank you for taking the time not only to make a submission and for being here with us today, but to actually speak to your submissions. Your involvement is an important part of local democracy and helps ensure council decisions reflect the needs and priorities of our Western community. The process for this morning will be that these hearings are a key step in Council's annual plan process. The annual plan sets out the activities Council proposes to deliver in the coming year, how those activities will be funded, how they fit within our longer term direction for the district. The feedback we hear today assists elected members to understand community views, assess impacts, and consider whether any changes should be made before the plan is finalised. Today's process is straightforward. Submitters will be heard one at a time, and each speaker has 5 minutes to present their views, after which councillors may ask questions for clarification. The purpose of this morning is for councillors to listen to our community, and I just ask the submitters that they speak to their submission and not off track from their submission. So first, I would like to formally invite Malcolm Lawson, who is on screen, to speak to his submission, and his submission is reviewing of fees and charges, car parking fees, and reference to Jackson Bay boat ramp. Welcome, Malcolm. Can you hear us clearly?
Good morning. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes, we can. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Yes, I want to speak on to the joint submission that Mr. John Searle and I made, which you will have in front of you, I'm sure. Now, unfortunately, Mr. Searle is not able to attend today, so I speak on his behalf. By way of background, we've set out some of our connections with Jackson Bay, and they are long term, and what we want to do is, or hope is, to see the best decisions made for the area. I say this because that's been the motivation for our submission. So in regard to that, as we said in the submission, as far as the proposed fees for the boat ramp and or so-called boat ramp and car park at Jackson's Bay, well, we looked through the documents and we could find no reference to any commentary on that. And as such, we believe that it's very hard to be properly consulted on if we don't have the details. And in the submission, we set out some of the questions that should have been addressed. So at this stage, we cannot support those charges. As far as the actual boat ramp, well, it's a bit of a stretch to call it a boat ramp. It's a bit of broken concrete that allows access onto a beach. And can you actually charge for access to a beach? But putting all that aside, there's an opportunity that has arisen through this process. There's no doubt that the number of people visiting Jackson's Bay is increasing. And it's fair to say that they'll continue to increase. And so this consultation round has provided the opportunity to raise with you and advocate for a proper in-depth analysis of the issues in the area and for an integrated plan of management for the area to be developed. The proposed fees touch on 2 issues, but there are a number more that should be included if we're going to have a fully integrated plan. So they include, not just the beach access and car parking, but freedom camping, utilisation of the wharf, which there is going to be work on, dogs in the area, perhaps the designation of an area for other visitor enterprises and experiences, and there may even be roading considerations, but I'm sure there will be others as well. A proper problem definition that identifies all of these issues could be consulted on. These could be part of the annual plan process, as far as if you needed to make provision for some funding for it, and the outcomes it could be carried out during the year, and the outcomes and any associated costs would then be consulted on in the annual plan process at this time next year. I know that some people want to see quick action, but quick action sometimes is not the best, particularly if it leads to ad hoc decisions. So that's why we say that it needs an integrated plan for the area. So as an example, like if Mr. Searle was here, he would tell you that if the upcoming wharf included work on the wharf included a landing platform for recreational boats, as it used to be there, he would support a fee to fund the ongoing maintenance of the wharf, as opposed to a fee for beach access. That's just the sort of things that I think the council needs to address if they're going to get the best result out of the work that needs to be done in this area. So, as I said, we know some people want immediate action, and I, along with Mr. Searle, attended the meeting with Mayor Lash at Jacksons Bay, and it was pretty obvious that people were sort of frustrated and wanted to see some action, but sometimes, a knee-jerk reaction is not the best. We think that you need to take the time to consider a complete overlay of the area, the issues that are inherent there, and work towards a long-term enduring solution that's also financially sustainable. So we don't actually think that the issues are that difficult, and the way of addressing it is not that difficult, but it just has to be done right. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Malcolm, for that very in-depth submission and covering all the points relative to Jackson Bay. Questions from councillors, please. Not so much a question for you, Malcolm, just a note in that I will make contact with you next time I'm down for the next meeting on the Jackson Bay project that's there. As you know, we've got funding for that, and that takes into consideration a toll or some form of management. It takes into the design. I was here from District Assets. The design is to look at putting that floating jetty back in. So we've still got a lot of conversations to have with the community down there, and ensuring that that project is correct for the long term, resolving all those issues. So, I thank you for your time with that. A lot of this, as far as funding, etc., will be rolled through to the long term plan, so we can get some final structure and resolution to costs and fees going forward.
So, just for clarification, I'm happy that folk have a good understanding of the annual plan can only make what are refinements to the long-term plan that's been adopted. But many of the issues that you raised, Malcolm, in the submission will be rolled into the long-term plan process, which we're starting at the end of June, start of July, which is where we look at the more significant major changes that may be for the community to have a view on. So just so you know, they won't get lost, but they will be put into that process.
Thank you very much for the clarification. I appreciate it.
Anything further for Malcolm? No? Right.
Thanks, Malcolm.
Thank you very much for your time, Malcolm. It's greatly appreciated. Nice to see you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Just as a heads up, I don't think I said it before, is that I will sound a bell at 4-minute mark, just for the speaker and presenter to know where they are, and then the second bell at 5 minutes. It's just so that you as a presenter have got an idea of your time. Second speaker this morning is Riley Lundstrom, submission 65 and 78, pages 102 and 140 for councillors. And welcome, Riley. Sorry, it's your turn. Yes, and Pamela.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, thank you very much, firstly, for allowing us to speak. It's a privilege, and thank you for your time. So we're going to be speaking on the proposed pool hours. My name is Riley. This is Pamela. We run the Hokitika Swim School down at the pool. And I wrote my comment down because I can stay on topic, but I believe it's important to recognise how fortunate Hokitika is to have such a dedicated community groups such as the swim club and the swim school, along with the volunteers, instructors and families who help keep the programs running quite effectively. These groups provide significant value to the community through water safety education, recreation, youth development, fitness and community connection. And from my perspective, making access more difficult to these groups in order to achieve relatively small projected savings may not be the best long-term outcome for the community. If staffing and operational costs are the main concern, there could be potentially alternative options available. For example, councillors could consider reduced morning hours on some days at the pool, later opening times potentially, or even closing the facility one additional day per week. Options such as these may provide more meaningful operational savings while still preserving the after school and evening times that are essential for school-age children, for working families, swim school lessons, swim club training, aqua lessons, and wider community participation. I'm going to pass over to my wife, Pamela, now.
Yes, so with the swim school, just for an idea of numbers, most children struggle to get to the pool for 3:15. So if they're coming from Canary or Whakatahi or even further afield, they can't physically get to the pool for 3:15. If we're to close and be out of the pool by 5 p.m, then that only allows us 3 lessons. So that would mean there would be about between 12 to 20 kids per day who miss out on lessons over each day. So it can be a big impact. We run at capacity because we don't have a lot of other options with the kids being at school. The swimming lessons lead into the swim club, and we see the need for a swim club to be help with the well-being of the community and keeping youngsters active and engaged. Our other concern is the lane hire. So we see that there's a substantial increase put in place for the swim school, which we can understand that prices are rising and there may be need for adaptation. But the swim school's rate seems to be higher than some of the comparable private hire lane prices. And we see swim school as a regular long-term community user of the facility, that we feel that could be taken into consideration because we provide a service to the community and we are long-term. If there is going to be a fee increase, we would encourage that this could be gradually and balanced with the other private lane hire, because you don't want the pressure to be put on to swim school that then you then have to rely it onto families, and then it's going to make swim lessons unaffordable. Learning to swim is essential in the area that we live. So we feel that maintaining practical pool access really supports water safety in our area, community well-being, youth development, and keeping our community active and healthy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just noting that you've got one shared submission and then two other submissions. Do you want to roll them all into one basket while you're on?
If that's possible.
Yes, because it's on that topic, so please, we'll extend that time accordingly for you. So if you want to, because I noticed that with the submissions, you've got your, yeah.
Yeah, no, we wanted to keep it simple and straightforward, and that basically covers what we're after. I mean, as parents, slightly reducing the hours also impacts us as well, but I think we got most of the points across. So we're happy to leave it there. No, you want to continue?
Yeah, I was just going to say, we understand that the council is trying to work on some solutions, and as community members, we appreciate that because the pool is a vital asset to the community. We have friends who are working and they physically can't get their children to the pool or even access the pool themselves because of their working hours. And so reducing the hours is going to make that extremely difficult. It's really important for the community to have recreation, exercise. We have used it ourselves for injury rehab and mental well-being, and it really provides a place of social connection.
Having moved into this town 5-6 years ago, we love it. It's a real privilege to be a part of the town. And running the swim school for the past 5 years, it's our 5-year anniversary as of a couple of weeks ago. We now work with 150 families per week at the pool, which is significant, and we're really proud of that. And we've seen incredible progress and growth, as well as we've seen real life scenarios where lives have been saved. Children whose confidence was meager. Now a child told us the other month he was in the lake. His friend was struggling. He saved his friend, pulled his friend out of the lake, Lake Canary, and actually saved his life. Yeah. So there's some real life examples of how swimming lessons actually save lives in the community.
And we also feel that the swimming lessons increase the use of the pool. When the lessons are running, families utilize the pool for a recreational swim with siblings, or even friends come and play while their friends have their lesson and then they go to the pool. So yeah, and the other thing that was on my personal submission was just about the importance of the library. We really are grateful to have a library that's accessible. We're a homeschooling family, and we see this asset as, I'm walking my words, but very valuable. Yeah.
Yeah, but thank you very much. That's all we have to say.
And thank you very much for your submissions. Councillors, questions, please. Yes, Councillor.
Does this one pub have potential to apply for external funding?
So we're not swim club, we are swim school. So I wouldn't be able to comment on that. I believe Kelly may be speaking a bit later and she would be able to comment on that. But we feed the swimmers into swim club. I'm unsure if there is funding available for a swim school.
Any questions? Look, the information you've put forward has been of great assistance, even the numbers of utilisation, because this is a picture. And, you know, your comment in the submission, rural and southwestern families are able to arrive late in the afternoon or early evening due to travel distance. Working families can't access the pool before 5. All very relevant comments for us to have, because sometimes it's easy to miss those points. You're personally attached to it, so you actually know what the impact is and the variety of families, users, and where they're from. So the information you supplied was superb, and I thank you very much for that. I'm grateful.
Thank you very much for your time.
I'm sorry, I've got one here, Councillor Clears.
Your worship, so just clarifying the lane hire, is that a new fee?
And so we rent the lane currently. And we have a fee on that, and it's being increased substantially.
Percentage.
So it's multiplying by 10, by 6, sorry, what we currently pay.
There's no lane fee in the previous annual plan.
So in this plan, it's swim club, which I agree maybe has a reduced rate because they're a club. And then there's private lane hire, which is $15, and then swim school lane hire, $30. So it's double what a private lane hire would be.
Yes, so council may not have been aware of this fee change because it wasn't in the previous report. So it might have been some informal arrangement with the users to charge for it, and now it's come to our attention. So it's new to me.
We can go into that and have some information from that from our senior leadership team when we go to deliberations, because I think it's something that's a point that most of us have brought up or aware of. So thank you very much for your time and for everything that you put into your submissions. There's a lot in there, but we're very grateful to that. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
And Hemi, I see arrived on the screen before. Hemi, are you still there?
How's that?
Good, just can't see you. Thank you. That's Hemi Bedgood from Federated Farmers. Submission 71, page 111 for councillors. Hemi, good morning, and thank you for being here to present to your submission. Good to see you, and the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. You can hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Okay, so thank you, Council, for facilitating this process and hearing the key concerns of community members. My name is Hemi Bedgood. I'm a Senior Policy Advisor at Federated Farmers. We're a national membership policy advocacy organisation established in 1899. We acknowledge any local members who have submitted on the annual plan, and we support their efforts as well. We'd just like to say thank you, Council. You've communicated the report in a really understandable way, and it's greatly appreciated. Our first key concern is regional pest management. So for us and our farming members, pest management on the West Coast is a huge issue. We just want to be involved in developing any pest management strategies in future together. We think the best way forward is to have really good collaboration between council, farmers and any other agencies that want to be involved. The second key issue we'd like to raise is rural roads and infrastructure. We think roading remains a top priority for the farming community, and we acknowledge council's success in securing support from NZTA. We think that's great, really positive. We're going to continue to advocate for rural infrastructure and more funding. We think it's essential nationally, and we're also going to continue to support district councils to advocate for more funding from NZTA as well. The other thing we have on the list is land management fees. We just got some concerns about regulation from councils, in particular things like subdivision and boundary adjustments and the like. We'd like it to be as easy as possible for routine land management to be undertaken, and we think that if you continue to increase subdivision fees when you're putting an application in, it's just going to make it harder and more costly for farmers to do things. So, yeah, for example, one thing that has come up is just like farm succession. So, yeah, if the more process we add to kind of subdivision and boundary adjustment, the more difficult it's going to be for try and, manage your land in a way which enables you to kind of split off from maybe your brother or sister or something like that and continue milking on the platform. Of course, we're always concerned about rising rates, and I think that's a pertinent issue at the moment. There's been some pretty big increases around, and so we've got to continue to talk about our concerns for the cumulative rates increases local government are applying to our members. We also support a simpler rating system, so we support differentials for farming. And yeah, we also support the idea that gross debt is also communicated by council and also all other councils as well. We see that net debt is often used as a reporting mechanism, but we kind of a little bit confused by this because we can't exactly work out if it's a total debt or not. So it's just a kind of a minor issue which helps us to understand the budget a bit better. In conclusion, we support a back to basics approach which focuses on core services and ability. Our key concerns are pest management, transport infrastructure, and rates affordability. Thanks, Council, and if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you very much for that, Hemi, and great submission as always from Federated Farmers, covering off some very pertinent points relative to the farming sector you represent. Councillors, any questions for Hemi, please? And Councillor McKenzie.
Are there any specific pests that you are concerned about?
If I can on that, just because there is quite a lot, but the pest management actually sits with the regional council, not district council for management, but it is something that I'm picking Federated Farmers, correct me if I'm wrong, Hemi, because of the intention for local government reform, you're talking across councils because inevitably at the end of the line, it will be across management of those situations.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's the way we're going to think about it at the moment with the reforms in play. It hasn't. I mean, a key concern we've had is that we know that there's potentially there is some potential if we don't get it right around plant pest management that we might restrict the subdivision of land. Well, it's not the subdivision, sorry, the cultivation of land. So if if you cultivate land, it's kind of at random as to what pests then propagate in a paddock. It's like, so we're just trying to say that we want to continue to cultivate fields, and we just want to be a part of the conversation to make sure that we don't accidentally consider buttercup or rod nodding thistle or something like that a species that we can't work with.
Thanks, Hemi. That's great.
We usually just take the grubber to it. So it's very straightforward.
And it's something that we can come back to you if there's more information needed on any points within your submission as well. So,
and through the chair, Hemi, I know you'll probably know this, but the regional council is currently going out on consultation about their pest management control here on the coast. And I know they've been quite keen to engage communities. And so you're probably already linked in, but just for folk here, just so you know, there is regional council are doing quite a push at the moment around this about pest management and control. And one of the key areas are weeds and cultivation of other things in paddocks, etc. So that's also useful if people want to have a look at that.
thank you, Barb. Anything further for Hemi? All right. Thank you very much for your time, Hemi, and for the submission, and also our thanks to Simon with his contribution to it too.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Next to the table, we have Les Morgan, submission 42, page 81. Welcome, Les. Good to see you again.
Yeah, long time no see. Again.
The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. One thing, yet again, no right turn into Railway Terrace off of Wheel Street. Last time I sat here, councillor, right turn into Railway Terrace. I've sat here again this morning, right turn off of Wheel Street into Railway Terrace. It is not permissible. You know who you are. God's sake. Obviously, set a standard for the community. Right, it wasn't a very good submission because I left it too late because I wasn't going to bother. Because I just couldn't be bothered. But can I ask a question? What is the price of fuel where you'll reopen the pool? That's what I've been asked. What is the price? You told us the price where the pool's not going to be opened, and it's not open. What's the price now of diesel to reopen the pool? You must know a price because you set a price which is unsustainable. Now, you've not, and when it was at $2.10 or $2.20, it's sustainable. So what's the figure in between where the people behind me get to use the pool again? I don't use the pool, but I'm just asking for the community, what is the price you will reopen the pool at diesel when it's on the forecourt?
And that is some work that we said that we would be looking at, which we have been doing.
So perhaps I can assist in that, Les. It's not just the price of the diesel that we're looking at, we've also got some other factors that are feeding into it. So we're trying to work out how we can ensure that the remedial work that we wanted to do to change over the boiler can be done. So it's not focusing purely on the price of diesel, it's trying to make sure that we can get those other things done with minimal disruption to the pool. We do have a pricing system that is a commercial issue for us at the council. And so I can't give you the set figure, but I can tell you that we are reviewing it. If not daily, we look at it weekly to how we can fit that with the other factors that we have to do. I realise it's a little difficult for folk, but that's the position that we're in.
Yeah, I mean, that's all folks want to know, because everybody was quick enough to point out all the pool shut because it's expensive. But since that, obviously, well, it's $2.99 today, and it's been $2.88 in grade for a couple of days, and everybody's seen it falling, but they don't get any feed on information from the council that say, right, we're definitely shut for 3 months because we've got to do the boiler, we've got to do this, we've got to do that. That's acceptable, but after the 3 months, you know what people are like around here, and I am one of them, that it's easier to write to the Guardian than it is to talk to the councils. So yeah, I'm just using that as an example.
And through the chair, look, I think it's a fair point. One of the things that came through the submissions, I have to say, was a really strong support for the pool as a community entity and for other points that were already being raised today. So we're really conscious of it. It's not something we're taking lightly. We understand the impact on people's lives when the pool is closed, but we need to communicate perhaps a little bit more about where we're up to. We're just getting some other pieces closed off that we've done to get the work done. So we'll come out and let people know where we're up to, and perhaps that will help. But we're hoping as much as we can, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed because, you know, things happen and we don't always have to follow the contractors, but we are pushing as hard as we can that we're not just reliant on the price of the pool, that we get the work done. So once we open, we can keep it open.
It was just disappointing because the pool I use at Ross was closed. Then they shut for their fortnight, and then you shut at exactly the same time you did, and nobody had a pool to go to. Whereas if you'd have held off for 2 weeks, it might have helped the community slightly better. And secondly, I did vote for like reducing all the hours in the library. My point would be, I'm reducing to vote the hours in the library to save money, but we're still shelling out 60k a year on a rent when you've got an empty space downstairs and a great big green space over there. Why are we shelling out 60k that could be saving and have the library open longer or the pool open longer? Well, I mean, it was even mentioned in the elections that one of the councillors said, I can't believe it rolled over again.
Well, that's quite true. Barb will answer to that because she'll cover that spectrum. If you're happy to have the answer, take up.
Yeah, I don't mind
your submission time. Okay.
Look, I do appreciate and I share your frustration. However, we have entered into a contractual agreement that means that we are bound with that library space. And I have taken every opportunity to look at that, and I did that from the time that I started. I can't shift it.
Right.
We're contractually bound.
Okay. Well, at least we know now. All right, thanks for your time.
If we could change that situation, we would have changed it a long time ago. But unfortunately, with the contract that's there, we can't.
All right, well, at least, yes, another one I'll put to bed, because it just annoys the shit out of me, to be honest. It's annoyed me for 8 years, it just go on annoying me forever. No.
I understand that. Has anybody got any questions for Liz, please? Councillor Gordon.
Through the chair, Liz, how do you see council communicating with the answers to what you're asking?
No, that's why I come here. If I come here and get an answer, I don't mind. It might not be the answer I want, but it's just because people talk, when I say, oh, I'm going to go to council, oh, can you ask about the pool? Can you ask why haven't we sold that building? Or why haven't we spent the 4.5 million on this or that? But I don't have time for all of that. I've got a whole sheet of things there I could have asked today, but two people have asked me to do something, so I've done it for them. But, you know, Why are we still here? Where's the 4.5 million from the long-term plan gone? You know, that's the sort of things you want answering as a community. Why are we still here? Why aren't we over there? Why aren't we on sales? We don't get this information. We don't get information around a lot of things.
That was my question is, what channel do you see council
Well,
communicating?
you've got to be better in the
with
paper.
these answers?
Well, you've got to be better in the paper for a kick-off. I mean, not everybody has social media. You've got 2 local papers, Grey Star and the Guardian. Use them. And be more honest. Tell us what's going on, because the less you say, the harder it becomes. And the harder it becomes, the more people might or might not make things up. You know, I can sit there and try and be truthful. And if you're truthful back, quite happy. But you've got to get your media better. And you've got to be more open about what people want to hear. Like, what is happening with the pool? What is happening with the mountain trade building? Where's the money coming from for this, that and the other? Just be more open in the local media.
Thank you for that, and thank you for the question, Carol. But I was just going to respond to a couple
I'm
of those
going to
points
take the
there.
liberty of giving you some answers on those, Les, because I know you do take it back and you're a really good channel back into the community. I totally agree with you. We need to do better in our communication. We've talked about this before, but now I've got a resource coming. We can actually put a considerable dedicated effort into getting communication better out to communities. We need to do better in it. Some of the things you've raised about the Pekiwai Tower building, I know it's been a source of commentary for some time. I know I do share your frustration with it. However, we've got the LTP process starting at the end of June and in July. I'm intending that there will be a suite of papers that will be coming out that all community members can read, and some of the topics that will be covered in detail will be the Pekiwai Tower building and options around that. As you know, the LTP is where we make our big changes. The annual plan, we can't, but we can with the long-term plan, and it's time that we did. We need to make some decisions and go forward. So Pekiwai Tower building, another one that will be covered will be around the tourism experience, including the eyesight in detail, so people can actually see what the tourism rate and what happens with that. That needs to be covered. More than happy that those papers, and I want to put them out early so people have a chance to have a really good discussion about them, raise them with colleagues around the table about some of their views. So when we get to the long-term process, that actually means we make decisions and there's votes on it, people are well informed. It's really important. And I'm more than happy, Les, you know that, if you need to come and speak to me at any time, more than happy to do that and have any levels of concern talked about there too.
All right.
Thank you.
No, very good.
Thank you very much, Liz. Thank you. See you again.
Thank you.
Right, we now move on to Amigo Gallo, but is he also not here? So what we'll do is, to allow him some grace of time to arrive, is that we will move on to Mr. Davidson. Ellen, good morning. Yeah. It's like Les, you're more than welcome anytime, and you know that. So it's good to see you, sir. Come and join us at the table, Ellen. That's all right. Ellen's submission is number 23 on page 53.
Is it?
Yes, it is. Just making it easier for the councillors to juggle their way through the multitude of submissions.
Three headings here, maybe. And I asked the councillors if they can turn to page, I think it's page 30 on your report and on your draft plan. The first matter that came to my attention was I couldn't understand, this is on page 30 of the draft plan that was publicised. I couldn't understand why the figures in the draft plan were different from the rates that I pay, and yet they're relating to the same house or the same resident. And it was a phone call to the council officer that was got a clarification on there, and I therefore would, and that was in relation to the fact that the figures that were produced in the draft plan were not GST inclusive, but of course the rates that I pay are GST inclusive, so therefore the figures don't marry up. I think that that was the item there. Was that brought to your attention at all? But do this by answer, question and answer.
Yeah, we'll answer them as you go, if you like, Alan, because it'll be easier for you to.
Because it would be confusing, and I know we've got about how these things run, but it would be confusing for Joe Blow to look at it and say, hey, the figures that are being promoted by council are definitely not the figures that I'm paying to council.
If I can, through your worship, and Alan, I do bring your attention, and I realise that it's always difficult when people go to these plans, they look to see where they are in the position, and they often miss the detail. But on the top of the table that you're referring to on page 30, it does state that they are indicative rates based on the decisions made by council in adopting the annual plan for the 26-27. Sample properties have been selected by the council as being representative of an area. The same properties are used each year for consistency. Numbers and percentages in brackets indicate a reduction. Rates are shown exclusive of GST. But I can appreciate.
Rates are exclusive of GST. Maybe that wasn't in the copy that I got, because at the end of that was the final sentence, wasn't it?
Yes.
I never saw that.
Yes. But I do appreciate your point that when people go to look at this, and we've struggled with this a little ourselves, because we had internal discussion about if I, as a ratepayer, when I wanted to go and have a look at where I pay on here, it's not what I pay for rates either. How can we make that clearer? But we were a little bit bound by the format and structure of the report. But if we need to do more work around that, and we do intend to do quite a bit more work about raising some issues that have been coming through about rates and how people can understand them, we need to do more work with people in the community, putting in places where people can come and ask questions and get clarity. But I appreciate why it may have been a bit confusing if you didn't note that the bit up the top.
I did know that bit up the top, that it was the final sentence on that bit up the top. Either it wasn't there on my copy, or I missed it, but it seems strange to me that I missed it.
I think if I can, I think what's evident, Alan, is that there's the opportunity to miss it. And that's what we've got to change, is that all that information needs to be concise and very visual so that there isn't the opportunity to miss it.
The next item was the fact that and for your decision-making process, is the fact that on the samples that you provided, all the residential places had their rates increased, yet there were areas there in the rural areas where their rates not only were not increased, but in actual fact were reduced. And I was after an explanation in relation to that, or an explanation could be attached when you make the decision-making process.
Through your worship, if you don't mind, just for clarity for now, Alan, if you don't mind, if I can ask the CFO to respond to that, he's got more detail in terms of that than I do personally. But Stephen, have you got a response to help Alan with that comment, please?
Yeah, so through the chair. So the rate tables, as you said, that they're split into buckets. And then depending on the townships and the areas.
That's right.
And then also we have our differentials as well, which is what you identify, that we have rural residential, commercial and residential. And basically the costs are attributed to targeted rates specifically. So I appreciate your frustration with that. I find it difficult that council says that rates have changed by 6%, which is the overall change in the rating amounts, but individual rates vary significantly. And the main reason is because of the targeted rates. So to give an example, if you're in Camara and there's something in the Camara community where we said we're actually going to do additional repairs in your property this year, that would go up regardless of what we were doing with the rate increases, because that was just what the plan was. So that's why we see it happening. So, and that is an example of it, that repairs and maintenance on a town hall, for example, a community hall, sorry, might not have been in last year, but will be in this year. So even though everyone else's rates might go down, the rates for Camara might go up because they've suddenly got this $20,000 repairs bill that's happening in the year. So it's very difficult to give an indication of what everyone's rates will look like, which is why the sample rates are used. And we pick exactly, as you said, the same properties every year to try and say, So I appreciate the frustration, and I don't know that there's a.
Yes, it looked like that all the residential properties increased,
Yeah.
and yet there are certain farming areas reduced.
Yeah, I mean, we would have to go through every
Yeah.
rating factor, and it is a model that produces a lot of data that's behind it. So we can break it all down individually on specific ones, but to give an overall example of why certain one have gone up and haven't, we'd have to go right into the detail.
You can that out in the open. And my next topic was, thank you.
Yeah.
The next topic was on the Hokitika pool. Can I talk on that now?
Yes, sir.
The question mark that I added was not on the hours or anything of that nature. It was simply on the fact that of the heating of the pool. It seems to be a big question mark on it. And I read Mr. Webster. Yes, there he is. I was just making sure that I don't knives in my bag. I've read Mr. Webster's report, maybe up to 3 times, and I just wanted to, when we're talking in terms of fossil fuels, the word coal is not mentioned. The heating of the pool, the word coal is not mentioned in it. And although there is comments in relation to Mr. Webster's report about councils wanting to distance itself away from fossil fuels, but I don't know whether or not that will be the case. The other aspect is there's talk of electricity or electrically heating the pool. I was just wondering whether or not the other aspect was the solar panels, whether or not they came into the picture. That was my question.
Thank you, Alan, for that, and good questions. I can tell you that a decision of council around about 2017, when the pressure was on to remove those fossil fuels, the council decided at that point in time to remove the coal and change the form of heating. So it was a decision made nearly, quite a long time ago now. So with that too, is that where the boilers, where everything was positioned, is now where the new heating system is based. So we can't revert back to that without removing everything else. So, and the other thing is with the solar panels, is the weight of the solar panels currently is too heavy for the structure of the roof. The roof won't support the weight of solar panels.
The solar panels don't always have to sit on the roof.
No, they don't, but it's the land involved with that. So we run the risk of yes, they could go on the grass, and there's a risk that goes with that. But we've got to start looking at all these options. So most certainly.
The attention, that was all my
Yes, I appreciate that. Councillors, do you have any questions for Mr. Davidson, please?
No, you haven't. Thank you.
Just one from the singing.
Sorry, it's not a question. Can I just say thank you very much for contacting the council individually to talk. We've got an excellent rates officer who struggles every day to make sure that she can give the right answers to people. But we do encourage people, if you are concerned about anything about rates, please contact us. Please don't sit at home and worry about it. Contact us. We've got the resource and the capability and the skill to respond, and we do it as well as we can, as quickly as we can. So we're really encouraging. So thank you for taking the time to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
all.
Thank you, Alan.
It's a long day, Liz. I wish you well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, you're great.
Right, Kelly's arrived now. Thank you, Mrs. Morgan. Appreciate it. So now we'll invite Kelly. Stephen, no, not Kelly. Oh, sorry. What? Are you here to submit, or are you here in support?
I'm here with support of Kelly, but she's coming.
She's coming, okay. She did contact us and say she'll be joining after 10. Do you know if there's any change on that?
No, she'll be here at 10.
She'll be here at 10, okay. Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll adjourn the meeting for 10 minutes to give Kelly time to get here, a chance to stretch your legs. We'll try and contact Amigo Gallo, who is wanting to speak to his submission as well in that time. So please stay. We have water available. Bathrooms are around the corner if anybody needs those. but we'll adjourn now for 10 minutes until Kelly gets here, which hopefully is at 10. Right, thank you. You ready to go? Right, so we're reconvening at 10:05, and thank you for those online that have waited for us to come back. And everybody that's new to the room, with the submissions, welcome. And to the table, we have Kelly Stevens, who's got submission 38 and 40, page 73 and 78, who's going to be submitting on the Hokitika swimming pool. Welcome, Kelly. I hope you've got your breath back.
Yeah.
And the floor is yours. And as I said to you before, apologies from the Tukai Whakaheris, but they will be catching up with us afterwards on content.
Thank you, kia ora koutou. For Kelly Tapuinua. I'm president of the Hokitika Amateur Swimming Club. Apologies for my delay. Appointments, health appointments in Greymouth are hard to get and you want to keep them. So rush back. So thank you for waiting for me. So we'd like to speak to our submission and thank you for the opportunity. Hokitika Swimming Club is a community organisation that has been long-standing in the community, and we've got over 40 swimmers and numerous officiating in swimming across the West Coast. We're more than a competitive swimming club. We provide water safety, we provide social connection, youth development, as well as physical and mental kind of well-being for the community and the swimmers in our club. We strongly oppose option 1 proposed in the draft annual plan, and we support either option 2 or actually believe that there's more of a collaborative model that does not disproportionately impact our afternoon users and early evening users, such as the swim club, swim school, and those who access the pool after work. So we are a volunteer organisation and run. Our coaches all work full-time, so often can't access the pool till 5 or 5:30. So a 6 o'clock proposed closure would impact the way that we could run. So we could not deliver our 1 to 2 hour training sessions 3 times a week under the proposed change. So ultimately that will impact our swim club and we would not be able to operate. And we actually believe that this has a wider impact on the competitive swimming pathway across the whole of the coast. So this will impact Westport, Greymouth and our full West Coast swimming competitions. So we'll no longer be able to have viable meets on the West Coast, which actually bring people to the coast. We hold usually 3 that are attended by swimmers from away from the West Coast. So we contribute to the economy that way as well. In terms of the cost savings that you're wanting to achieve, if we're unable to operate, actually there'll be a loss of revenue from our lane use hire, which is expected to go up $3 per lane hire, which would actually be a loss of revenue of approximately $3,900. So that actually negates a lot of the proposed savings that you were trying to achieve. So our main key thing is actually the proposed model as it stands is disproportionately impacting just one part of the community and one user group, being the afternoon and early evening users. And so we believe that there's a couple of other options that you could use to achieve the cost saving measures. So maybe a 6-day-a-week operation. So you close on a Wednesday. That would save you some of your wages and OPEX. I acknowledge that would still need to heat the pool, but I do believe that gives you savings in that model. We also really believe in a collaborative model, which is more equitable and balanced for the community and the community users. I've run it through ChatGPT and Copilot, and you can easily get a model which would work and mean that early morning swimmers would have Sundays, and swim club community, swim school, and after work users would be able to use the pool. So basically, that's our key point. We think there should be a more balanced and equitable option of operating the pool hours rather than what is proposed at the moment. And it would still enable some cost savings to be realised. And then the only other thing, was that my time, is it?
No, you've got the time to go. Sorry, if it goes off in here.
Okay. It's like a speech competition or and then I guess the only other thing is in the last couple of years while we've been operating, we haven't had public access to the pool while the swim club has been on. So there's often siblings and some of us parents who would pay and swim at the same time as their swim club, which hasn't been able to occur in the last few years because of the operating model. So that is another option of that should be considered. So yeah, that's our main thing. We really want a balanced and equitable operating model that doesn't impact just one side of the community as much as the other. Yeah, thank you. And if you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Councillors, thank you very much, Kelly, and thank you for the submissions. They were very in-depth and yeah, excellent. Thank you for putting the time into that. Councillor McKenzie.
Through the chair, just wondering why other users currently can't use it while you're in the pool?
At the moment, the pool, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, the pool shuts at this season, it shut at 6 o'clock, and then we carried on till 6:30 or 6:45. And then at the 6 o'clock time, everyone is out of the pool. So like for myself or some of the other parents or siblings that want to swim, they can't be in there at the same time as the swim club is still swimming. I think that's just an operating choice for council. Maybe they might be able to answer more. Yeah.
I see now. Yeah. Lee, do you want to comment on that now while it's fresh in everybody's minds, the point that's being discussed?
Absolutely. So that is just a current operating model that has been in place for, as Kelly said, for a couple of years. But that's part of the proposal that we're looking at from an annual plan point of view of looking what does this look like moving forward, basically. So absolutely taking on board Kelly's comments.
Yeah, we probably have a number of siblings that would either finish swim school or have siblings in the swim club that would probably still utilise the pool, and also parents to do lap swimming while our swim club is still operating. And at most nights we don't monopolise the whole pool, so that would still be enabled. I mean, it's not every night, but there's some opportunity there.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you. And yes, Councillor Maitland.
Through your worship, yeah, Kelly, thanks for your submission. I think it's great. Would you entertain a drop in temperature if that resulted in saving?
Hadn't considered that. I guess maybe we sometimes get quite hot in some of our more senior classes or squad lessons where they're doing multiple lengths. Yeah, I think for us, yeah, potentially, I don't know what the optimal swim lap pool temperature is. I guess where we swim in Greymouth when we have our competitions, it's cooler than for the lap pool, I understand.
Right, interesting question. But I guess the thing is too is that what is the temperature needed or regarded to be needed for the young and the elderly as opposed to the active swimmers?
Yeah.
It's a cross section of users, isn't it? Finding a happy medium. Kelly, that's excellent, and I'm sorry you've had to race back to get to us to speak to your submission, but the detail in there is exceptionally good. Is there any other information that can assist us by these numbers, any other things you've got that can assist us with a better insight into?
Yeah, I guess just at the moment our makeup of the swim club is that we're three different squads that would train either 2 to 3 times per week from 1 to 2 hours is our regular operating model. And this year, 2 of our voluntary coaches work full time, and so it makes it hard.
Sometimes it's all of the coaches that are full-time. We're not as competitive that preschool swimming is an option for our club. We're unlikely to be able to do 6 till 7, 6 till 8 training, both from a voluntary coaches and swimmer perspective. You know, we look at those ideas as well. And then I guess just our numbers really make up the viability of our West Coast swimming meets. So if we hold a meet, we probably have, say, 60 to 60 swimmers, 60, 70 swimmers. If we're taking away our 35, 40 from Hokitika, including our officials, so that's like inspectors of turns on the side of the pool, then the viability of running any of those meets really becomes impacted. So I think you'll see we had a submission of support from the Swim Canterbury West Coast, which is our parent body, as well as Greymouth Swim Club. And I'm not sure whether Westport got theirs in time or not. But
It can as a late submission.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Councillor Maitland.
Yes,
Sorry.
thank you, Your Worship. Kelly, does the swimming club have the option to apply for external funding from Sport New Zealand and things like that?
We usually get funding. We usually try and get funding through the Rural Travel Fund for some of our local travel for meets through the council. Hokitika Community, West Coast Community Trust. We've applied for funding from in the past for equipment and it's mainly equipment and support that way for potentially lane hire. But yeah, we haven't tried sport from New Zealand. Yeah, and maybe 3 years ago we had one through the to Manawa Fund, another sport one through Sport Canterbury and Sport Canterbury West Coast. So we've had funding through them 3 years ago to help try and keep young women in sport.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent. Anything further for Kelly?
Did I also wish to be heard as a personal person? Yeah.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Sorry.
Do I
Yes.
carry on? I'll just.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, so basically, I support everything that the swim club and the swim school say. I guess just on top of that, it was just from a personal perspective, I did really wonder whether the fees and admission charges could be reviewed. $3 for a child swim, you know, could we even increase that to $3.50 or $4 and without adversely impacting a number of members of the community? I still think that's reasonable cost to go for a swim for a child, especially they're there usually for a few hours. And most of the families and things, people in the community I know are happy to pay that little bit more, same with an adult swim. So I guess I just didn't know whether that had been factored into cost savings and opportunities to look at the model and whether that could help negate the impact on the hours.
Thank you. And I think, you know, when we've actually reviewed the fees in the past, it's quite a hard process to work through because what do we base it on? And actually your insight and steerage is actually, it can be very valuable to us for that very reason. Councillor Burner?
Just around fees and charges, Kelly, of what sort of fees, when we're talking about what we base it on, what are you paying in sort of Greymouth to swim, do you know?
Oh, yeah. So if I take the kids to Greymouth, it would be $7 entry for a swim. Plus you'd pay another $8 on top of that if we go to the hydro slides. So if I take the kids, I'd be spending $30 for us to go, you know, 2 kids, pool and hydro slides. So to go here, yes, we don't have hydro slides. We've got all the big blow ups, which the kids get just as much enjoyment from. And to me, $4 is still very reasonable. Cost for a swim, you don't get much for $4 at the supermarket, let alone anywhere these days. So I am mindful of different parts of the community and the impact an increase would have, but I guess whether there's any way to have locals more specific, I don't know, some differentiation. I guess that makes it a little bit more harder to implement. But to me, being a parent in Hokitika community, there is not a lot of opportunities for us to do a lot of things with our children. You know, we've got the park, we've got multiple parks, cycleways, rainy day activity. The pool is often our one and only choice, and without having to drive to Greymouth and spend money on petrol plus $8, you know, a $4 swim is very affordable.
Yeah. And thank you for that, because I mean, as I said before, when we've gone to look at and review those charges in the past, we've been very conscious of the cost of living impact.
Yeah.
And the broad section of cross-section of users of the pool.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of finding the right medium for that. Yeah, so I'm actually very keen to have further discussions with you so that we can work on getting that right going forward. Because it's all well and good for us to say we think this, but from the other side of it, getting that insight on the reverse is going to be important for us. Councillor Mackenzie.
Through the chair. Kelly, do they have any open days for the swim club or the swim school, which will make more focus on your organisations and bring more people to use the pool?
I can't speak for a swim school and their things, but we can answer there. For our swim club, often we're limited with our squad numbers to like usually 18 per squad is the maximum we would be able to kind of accommodate in terms of coaching ability or coachability. And we usually have enough interest and often a wait list to get into swim school, swim club. Because of that, it's been down a little bit in the last couple of years. Usually when there's school swimming sports, there's an increased interest in things. Yeah, we have considered it as a committee, whether we would run another open day or something like that as well. Yeah.
Because yes, the swimming pool got a lot of commentary, which has been absolutely valuable to us. It really has been. Thank you, Kelly. Anything further for the campaigns? No?
Cool, thank you.
Thank you very much, and I'm sorry for the rush you've had today. And thank you to everybody else that's here in support of Kelly. Exceptionally good. Right, and I'd just like to officially thank everyone who, a number of our speakers have gone, but some of them may be online. Everybody that's spoken here today, we appreciate the participation, the contribution to the annual plan process, and your time, perspectives and commitment to the Western District are valued. I would also like to very firmly express the gratitude to those who provided the in-depth insight into the need and impact within the points contained within your submissions. You know, it's I don't think I've seen such such relevant feedback in the submissions as what I've seen for the pool. You know, and generally a lot of them are quite superficial as far as don't agree, don't want, whatever, but the depth of the feedback regarding the pool in particular has been absolutely exceptional. So obviously a very wide community impact, and it's going to assist us greatly in our deliberations this afternoon. So thank you to everybody for that. We'll now adjourn as council for 15 minutes, and when we return, we'll go through the staff analysis of the feedback submissions. Following that, council will deliberate all of the points, taking into account public feedback and staff advice. So with that, at 10:25, we will adjourn the proceedings. We are originally to the agenda due back at 10:30. As we've already had a 10-minute break, we'll make this one a short one and reconvene at 10:35. Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you.
Is the council's feedback on the submissions an open process, or is that closed now?
It's open.
So we can listen.
Yes, yes, it's on live stream as well. Yes, definitely. Thanks, Dave. Thank you. Right, so we'll reconvene at, what are we, 10:37. Thank you, everybody. And to anybody that's come back online, welcome. I will hand over to Chief Executive Barb for the draft annual plan submission analysis report.
Thank you, Your Worship. Can I just firstly take the opportunity, I have tabled the report for you, but if I could just take the opportunity to thank all 81 submitters that actually took the time and made the effort to provide us with the submission for today, and also for those people that attended in person. I realise that it's a commitment to get here, so I was very grateful that people took that opportunity to have that first this morning, and also to the staff who've been facilitating this process. I think it's gone quite smoothly this year, so I'm very grateful to staff who've made it a process that we can engage with. As you know, the long-term plan sets our overall direction, and once adopted, it does provide us with very little scope for any change, any significant change once the long-term plan has been put in place. The annual plan that we're proposing, the draft annual plan, is obviously year 2 of our current long-term plan. That being said, while we do have some opportunity for change, we have endeavoured to look at a balanced approach. So our primary drivers have been around affordability and about ensuring that wherever possible, we don't lessen the level or quality of service. So that's been our staff driver. As you know, we did quite a bit of review through our internal operational costs, etc., which perhaps is clear in terms of when the submissions come through, but that was our pre-process to get to the draft annual plan. And we've made sure that where we can, highlighting for the long-term plan, which, as I said, will be beginning at the start of July is when we'll kick off our long-term plan, which is different in previous long-term plan processes. I've deliberately asked that we have a very long lead-in to our long-term plan this year, mainly because I want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to digest and consider the proposals, because this is where we do have an opportunity to make major change, and I need people to be fully informed on that. So the decisions that you folks are able to make are confident that you've had the information you need, and your communities have had an opportunity to come back to us. So I would say from the draft annual plan process, the submissions, every submission has been read and considered internally, and I realise that they've all been available for you folk to read and consider as they've come in, and culminating to today. And not surprisingly, I have to say, there was considerable comment, as we've heard this morning, around the poll. And I'd just like to say, and probably just to support the Mayor's commentary, that I'm really grateful for the considered and thoughtful commentary that came through on those submissions. People have really understood the difficulty as a council that we've been in, and that we haven't taken it lightly, but they've also taken the opportunity to reiterate where they see the value add and what the facility is to the community. So I think that's something that's worthy of note. My report today is really the process to accept the report, which is the summary analysis of the submissions and the submissions, which enable the hearings and the consideration of each submission to deliberate, to then be able to provide instructions to me as the CE, which will enable us to present the annual plan for the 25th of June council meeting for final adoption. So thank you to everyone again. I'm happy to take any questions, but this is purely the framework for us to now go into the next stage of deliberations. Thank you.
Any questions, please? Any points of clarification? No. So can I move to seconder, please, and we resolve that the report be received? Councillor Burden, thank you very much. The seconder, Councillor Gillette, thank you very much. All in favour? Aye. Okay, thank you. Right, on to deliberations. So before we go into the context of that, you have all received the latest submissions. They are referenced in the back of the file that you've received. Plus, we received one from Paula last night, late yesterday, 4:03 p.m. from the Westport Swim Club. I need to run this through council as to whether we formally receive these late submissions or not. They came in well after closing. They are aligned with other submissions. There's no new information or commentary being put forward with them, but we do need to formally acknowledge the late submissions, but it's whether you are prepared to accept them into the fold of the wider submission file. Councillor Martin, is there any risk in not receiving, and is there any risk if we do receive them? There's no risk. No. It's purely acknowledging they've come in late and whether you are wanting to allow them to be included in the overall submission file, being that they've come in late. That is all this is. It's just to be tidy. Councillor Maple.
Are there any submissions that have come in late that are not reflective of any other submissions that have come in?
No, that's what I just said. They are all very similar to the Westport Swim Club, of course, is aligned with Kelly's and the other ones that have come through. There's no exceptions in there whatsoever. So, council? Sorry,
I was just going to comment and say that I don't have a problem receiving them, and I'm happy to move that we accept the submission, the late submission. Yeah.
Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Martin, all in favour?
Aye.
Carried unanimously, so we will acknowledge those 3 late submissions and they will be included in the deliberation process. Thank you, councillors, for that. So we'll be going through each submission page by page now, making sure to note any additional suggestions that differ from the draft annual plan. Make sure to move and second any resolutions from those submissions. For example, if there is a suggestion that council believes that something should be brought to the long-term plan discussion, we can just note it. It doesn't have to be a motion as such, because there is a few things in here that need to be put forward to the long-term plan. So with that, if everybody could please turn to the first of the submission, and we will work through them exactly as to what you have in your file. So first submission is submission 1, which is Abby Sullivan. Noting the preferred options for the remittance. Option 2, status quo. Option 1 for the full operating hours, greater than standard operating hours. You've all read these in the overall summarising the comments that she has on the following page. Is there any discussion from this, or are we just taking this as noted? So for those that are new to the process, generally with something like this, we're quite happy just to say submission noted. All submitters will get some feedback and some an acknowledgement of receipt of their submission. But there's nothing on here that we need to look to the long-term plan for, or any other issues that arise from it. So if you want to take this one as noted, that is quite the acceptable process.
Through the chair, when do we actually get to discuss, say, for example, the remit of refund penalties?
That's what we do in the decision time.
And the decision.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So at the moment, we're going through the submissions.
Yeah.
We're not extending out into the actual decisions that come from that, as far as multitude of option 1, 2, or 3.
Right.
So this is purely acknowledging the submissions, and is there anything from these submissions we want to take forward, whether to the long-term plan or for further clarification from staff. Okay. So the first submission is Abby Sullivan. No. Everybody quite happy to have that as noted?
Yeah.
Okay. Submission 2 is Paul Rasmussen. And bear in mind too that staff have already summarised these as far as option 2, depending whether it's pool rate penalty or whatever. So we've got a summary of preferred options captured for us. So we're not having to take that now. Okay, is everybody quite happy to take that as noted? Submission 3 is from Luca McEwen, and Luca was down to speak, but pulled out. Notified me during the week to say that he no longer wanted to speak. Councillors, you happy to take this as noted? Is there anything in particular from there that you want to? Take? No? Among directions, the we taken that as noted, councillor? Noted, thank you. Submission 4, Rex and Anthea Keenan. Noted. Thank you. Next submission again is Rex and Anthea Keenan. Noted. Submission 6 is from Amigo Gallo. Now, Amigo wanted to speak also, and Neve put a lot of time into trying to make contact with him to enable him to even arrive late, but has not been able to make contact with him. Contact details have been very light bar one phone number, which has been a landline. So, noted. Submission 7, Andrew Thompson. There's some good comments in there regarding Paul as far as a civic asset, worthwhile comments for consideration towards the decision-making process. Does anybody want to take anything from there?
Well, there's Paul charges that he's also floating that idea.
Yes. So with that, potentially the commentary within the pool operating hours is something that we could take through for the long-term plan to guide us next year, which is when we can make those significant changes and put the work into a full review of fees and charges, which will be led by Neve. So do you want that to be noted for the long-term plan, the comments that went out of Andrew Thompson's?
Yeah, I think that's a piece of work we should explore in our process, because obviously we can't do anything about fees now. We've already set them, I guess.
Yes.
Through worship, I just think that when we push this through to the long-term plan, the objective is we have a comprehensive look at all of the activities in terms of fees and charges, etc., so that there will be a much more in-depth discussion and metrics provided for people to make decisions on through the long-term plan process. So just giving people some level of assuredness that it's not, this was done purely to look at the proposals going forward in terms of what we put up as options. But when we go to the long-term plan, it will need a comprehensive look over everything, including the metrics and everything, and we'll get that as you come to do your deliberations.
Councillor Mackenzie?
Is there a mechanism to do a temporary increase? Because if the cost of diesel doesn't go back down to whatever it was in March, we might need some kind of adjustment to get the pool back opening again and operating.
Through the chair, all I would say is that it is very difficult to try and get that granular level of process through this process if we wish to get the annual plan adopted, because it requires to try and change I'm happy for the CFO to correct me if I'm wrong, but for us to do multiple changes in terms of metric of the figures going through, we have to rerun everything again. So it's about a balance of trying to work out what's feasible to change and what isn't, and whether we can do that in the time allowed. And for the period of time that we are actually looking for, I'm not sure that you will actually get that level of benefit back. I take your point, but I think we can probably address that in a different way as to where it starts.
Yeah, just be temporary. So it's whether there's that mechanism, just because there's a whole heap of work involved, and if we don't want to wait for the long-term plan,
I think there's some options that we can have a look at that we can see what we can do, but I think actually it would be quite difficult to try and fortune tell where that would land, and we may cause ourselves more problems than not if we don't have a considered approach to how we do that. The temporary part, I'm not sure that you can actually put the fees and services charges up in a temporary session once they've been set. I think once it's been adopted, they're adopted, but we don't have a long period of time to suffer that if we do have to, or we can do a new enactment. It's not that long between.
Andy Thompson submission 7. We're making a reference to the long-term plan for content for commentary on the full operating hours. Everybody happy with that? Councillor Martin?
And also the eyesight, would that come under the tourism experience? Yes.
And also through the chair, they've also raised some issues around, generally around the tourism dollar. And there were quite a few submissions that mentioned the value for the tourism dollar and what that looked like, which is why I tried to weld that together for a suite of papers that will come with a lot more detail, which is for the LTP process, if that makes sense. And sorry, to your point, Councillor McKerrow, around Kenzie, around the pool, remembering that our aim is to get the changeover from the diesel to the electric. So going forward, that's where we would be, sorry, that I just, as I said, I forgot to put that up, that we won't be dependent on that fuel costing variation with the electricity process going forward.
Right, so everybody's quite happy for Andy Thompson's submission with reference to the long-term plan. Thank you. Submission 8, Kelly Kyle. Noted. Noted.
Through the chair, and can I also just say, just for a level of assurance, what we will provide when we put the final annual plan up, we will have a table that shows the areas where we've pushed pieces into the long-term plan, so you can keep a track of them and you know where they are. And anything that's subsequent, any little rats and mice that have fallen out of the submission, we'll make sure that you've got a line of sight of them when we put the plan up for final adoption, so nothing's been missed.
Thank you. Yes, it does. That's great. Thank you. So we just did Kelly's. We're on to submission 9, Gerald Avenue. Noted.
The only thing I want to bring up on Matt Barrow's one is her commentary about combining services. There may be cost efficiencies there with the eyesight museum and library.
Yeah.
I think that's really important for us to consider. Yes.
So that's a consideration for the long-term plan. Discussions? Yes. Everybody's happy with that? Okay. Submission 10, Hannah Maria. Noted. Submission 11, Nicola Sutton. Submission 12, Olivia Sutton. That's a Jackson Bay one, and that will go through to the long-term plan. Is everybody happy with that?
Some good ideas coming out of the community.
Yes, and a lot of that is continuation from meetings I've had down there with them on trying to sort of massage that project together. Submission 13, Robin.
Sorry, through the chair. There's a lot of commentary in the submissions about Jackson Bay, and I noticed in Stephen's commentary underneath them about the proposed works and the fees and all of that. So, is Stephen's commentary set in stone, or is that something that we're going to discuss in the future with some of these ideas? Perhaps is that a long-term plan thing or an end of plan thing?
Stephen's commentary.
That's
That collated document.
Oh, the collated document. Yes.
We start providing some additional
So
information.
this goes into the long-term plan, but also feeds into the project, the work that's being done on Jackson Bay with the funding that we've got there at the moment.
Right.
Twofold.
Okay, so, but we will be able to take into account their commentary.
Yes,
Yeah.
because that's what we do. We keep the commentary,
Yeah.
we feed it into A, the project, and B, the long-term plan for next year. So that's Olivia Sutton, so that's noted as long-term plan referral. Yep. Okay. Submission 13 is Robin Pope. Noted. Submission 14, James Scott. Noted, and it's instead of increasing rates, find cost savings of 6%. Something that we need to think about how we work this going forward, and those decisions will come. Submission 15, Justin Cook.
I think we need to go, through the chair, go back to Justin about his concern on the van bulk.
Oh, that's been picked up internally, because where we've seen things where we just need to check them and go back, we'll go back individually on that, so that's the leaking potential leaking risk. Yeah, we've got that in hand.
Yeah.
That's on my action list for the staff.
So that's not acknowledged, it is, we'll go back to Justin and acknowledge his submission, but also noting that communication's already happening with a resolution on this. Submission 16 is Andrew Friedman. Is it a notice? Noted. Again, submission 17, Anthea Keenan. Noted.
Through the chair, how many submissions can one individual make?
Different subject matters.
Okay.
Yes. Some people roll them into one.
Right.
Some like to roll them into many.
Okay.
Or expand them into many, I should say. Submission 18, Mr. Earl Sutton. He was going to speak and pulled out. Cancelled that opportunity. The water supply is already being managed internally. And I think section 1, his first comment is a noted. Do I have agreements on that with that submission? Councillors on my left, is that agreements to that comment?
Yeah, I looked at that and I can't see there's a requirement to have that issue in the Resource Management Act, actually in the draft annual plan.
Yeah.
It's in the Resource Management Act, so
Yes.
therefore it's covered.
Yes.
We have to be comply with it, so it doesn't need to be in an annual plan.
No, correct. So we'll take point 1 as noted, and as I said, point 2 is being managed internally already, as you're acutely aware that it has been to council before. Oops, I'll pass flip over from 1. Submission 19 is Emma Hurley. Emma is another one that was going to speak remotely through Zoom, but pulled out. The commentary on the parking for the Hammond Street Western High School is noted, and that will go through to the LTP. Very happy with that. Submission 20 is Inga Perkins. Her commentary regarding solar panels, EVs, the Hammond Street parking, NZTA, that is all matters in hand as far as the wider CBD work, as far as school management, signage and parking. And her comment about the 6% rate increase, variation between properties is something that was brought up this morning by Les Morgan. And we can perhaps look at that as far as Mr. Davidson as well. So we can look at that. And as far as the basic country, they're meeting with the chief executive and CFO in a week or two's time. So there's nothing dishonest in the way rates are presented. It's just the way that they are presented. There's no intent to be dishonest, misleading, or anything else. It's just the way it's presented. That is something that Stephen's been looking at and as well as how we do things going forward and how we present the information. So how does everybody want to take, that is noted? Thank you. And then we move on to submission 21, Rosalie Robinson. Now that must be noted. Submission 22, Thomas Bleeker. I think the comment about library reserves, I think this again is some information where people don't understand what these funds are, how they operate, how they work. So it is something that we can manage with some comms. Yes, that can go into the decision process as well if they want to have that built into there. So we'll reference that for the decision process. That's submission 22. Mr. Davidson, submission 53. Do we take that as noted? 24, Sally Gallant. Noted. 25, Jean Potter. It's a noted. 26 is Chloe Weaverts. Again, along the swimming line is strong. We'll take that as noted. But what we do take from it, if there's any new information or facts or relevant information that we need to take from any of these submissions, we'll take them and extract that and keep that for the long-term plan work next year. Submission 27, Lena Walker. Noted. Submission 28, Anthony Houston. And again, his comment about the fees that will go into the long-term plan work next year. I think that's noted. Yep. Submission 29, Alice Marshall. Noted. Submission 30, Cassandra Coleman. That's another noted. 31, Abby Clement. Sorry, Dr. Abby. It's another noted. It has been really good getting the commentary off people to use. I think that's the big insightful thing for us for next year's deliberations. Submission 32 is Hannah Matthews.
Actually, sorry, going backwards through the chair. She's made a good point about medical reasons to swim, and that probably should go into the long-term plan with pricing. You know, if somebody's got like a note from the doctor, you know, you need to do physio kind of exercises. Maybe there's a reduced rate if they're going to use the pool very, very frequently. Do you know what I mean?
So doing rehabilitation.
Yes,
I put that as rehabilitation.
Does that make
Yes,
sense?
we can factor that into
Yes.
the thinking for the long-term plan.
And that's what I said before, there's a few comments through some of these submissions that we can extract some key points from and hold them for the LTP, and that's a very good one as well. Thank you for that, Councillor. We were on to 33, Andrew Whitton.
32, I think.
Hannah Matthews, so that was both noted.
Noted.
Andrew Whitman, 33. That noted to Andrew's one or to Hannah's?
Hannah.
Yes. Again, it's, you know, again, it's some of those comments that's relevant to our thought process for the next year's long-term plan work. We're really happy with that. Noted and extraction of information of commentary. Make sure that's proposed. 34 is Elisa Alsvich. Noted. Yep, thank you. 35, Monica Hume. Noted. 36, Lorraine Howarth. Noted. Sean Milligan is submission 37. And again, the Jackson Bay commentary, we can extract that for the long-term plan work. Submission 38 is the Hokitika Amateur Swimming Club, to which we've been spoken to us on. That will be referenced through to the long-term plan work next year. And the information that can be extracted out there as far as assisting us on the commentary. Submission 39, Malcolm Lawson and John Searle, presented by Malcolm, is on Jackson Bay, which again is long-term plan work. So the commentary and request of information and questions asked will be used as reference for our work on that, the long-term plan. Is everybody happy with that? Yeah. Submission 40 is Kelly Stevens. Same scenario, so that's we'll roll those comments over for the long-term plan to assist us there. 41 is Catherine Benny at the past Jackson's Bay, long-term plan work. Submission 42 is Les Morgan. Noted. 43 is Simon Whitworth. Noted. 44 is Hannah Yates. Which is a noted. 45 is Juliet Adams. But read it. Get used to it, because it's she writes her submissions this way each year. Yeah, she just got to spend time trying to work out some of it, but yeah.
What's she talking about in there about the Fringe Theatre? I can't quite get my head around that.
It's emotional.
It's
double as a town hall, cafe, small theatre, very useful. And underneath that, the 3 is the band hall.
Mm.
So we've got commentary is noted.
Yeah, sorry. I was going to comment about her, comment about the museum. It's an event space, is it? Is that where she's getting at, Barbara?
Well, the Repaint Museum is great. We seem to have a lack of small hall or whatever multi-purpose exhibition.
I guess she wants a different range of expressions rather than theatre.
Oh, okay.
That's what I took from it, but it's
I thought, sorry, through the chair. I thought maybe she was meaning
space.
we could use it as a rentable out space for events and stuff.
No, there is nothing to do. No.
Excellent. Through the chair, is the museum still used for exhibitions?
At the time for such, yes. Noted for Juliet, submission 46 is Taylor Mertens. Noted. 47 is Amy Cunningham. Noted.
Yeah.
48, Louise Morgan.
Any considerations? Lorraine Stevens' work on the rents, I guess, about payment options. For paying all.
There is a scope, right?
Not if you pay up front, which was an interesting question.
On the rates, if you pay up front, there is a discount, yes.
Yeah, there is.
Oh, there is.
There is, yeah, it's 10%.
Yeah.
If you pay your bill.
So we need to go back to her because
Yes.
she's made out. I shouldn't get that.
Yes, so we will note that as a response.
It wasn't the only submission either, there was a couple of other references to it. And
So make sure that we're we can answer some of those in our response, but yes, that needs to be acknowledged that it is already there. And I'll take it. Councillor Maitland.
To the chair, in regards to the library building lease, do we know how long that lease runs for?
Yes, we do.
2028 is when it finalises.
Should the submitter be made aware of that?
Well, there's only, yeah. There's only so much information you can put out, but you want at least that's the so hopefully that'll be watching the live stream as well.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Would that then flow into the long-term plan to start thinking about alternatives?
That's all part of the building HQ, that whole research of what our needs are and what the community wants to take forward needs to be part of the long-term plan, so that we can then start actioning some of that and getting some movement.
So that's already set in place, irrespective of the content here. So we'll take Louise Morgan's as noted, but with commitment to go back with not just thanking her for submission, but also acknowledging the discount that's already applied to upfront payments of rates. Submission 49 is the swimming Canterbury West Coast. If you can use the comments from that to help us with our discussions for long-term plan next year. Submission 50, Eddie Nolan. It's noted. Interesting that we had people from South Western actually putting information, which is valuable to us because we're inclined to, it's easy to think of the local users as opposed to the ones that travel. 51, Auburn Wilson Russ. It's a activity that's being noted. Noted?
Yeah.
Just looking for a response to my left.
Yes, noted.
Sorry. I don't want to roll all around here, so they go, hang on a minute. Submission 52, Stacey Brock.
The same, they're all on the same page.
Yeah. 53, Linda Harden. Yes.
Maybe just consideration of somebody to respond to her, maybe.
We just need to be a bit careful. We don't go back and do lengthy responses to the submitters. There's 81 submitters. So we're just a bit conscious of the fact that there is a staff engagement in this. So we do send back and receive acknowledgement that it's done, but I'm not intending to do fulsome responses in this.
Through the chair, I mean, it does give us some insight into where our comms need to be, right? So the questions that we don't respond spoken to each individual submitter, but I see some themes and be like, okay, we need to, as this new comms person comes on board and you get some strategy, these are the areas we need to educate the community on.
Yeah, because even with the waters references there, we can't just, none of the councils can just park work for the next couple of years waiting for that to be stood up. We are obligated to carry on with our work program.
Yeah, and all that debt and assets and debt is all going to get transferred to the water CCO. So there's maybe an opportunity to explain to the community.
And in the meantime, we still are obliged to maintain and do all the work that needs to be done with those assets.
And the issue around joining the CCO and paying for rainfall to come up to our standard is not the case because there's no.
There's variances between councils as far as quality, but it's you know, we can't do anything with that. It is what it is.
But we won't be paying for their infrastructure initially.
It's ring-fenced for a period of time.
Yes.
And there'll be some optimization at some point.
Yeah, through the chair, I'd like to see more information on, like in regards, say, for example, the chlorination building renewal cost, 500,000. It adds to, in the long-term plan, it said it was for the building, and then it came out in the information that it was a concrete structure. So it's either the building or a concrete structure.
Yeah.
And I went and had a look at the building yesterday, and just from the outside. And if it was just the building, I sort of struggled to see how that would cost 500,000, considering that there would already be a platform there to build the building on. So, I just struggle with some of the amounts, and maybe there's no clarity around them as to what's actually been spent, or if it could be done at a cheaper rate.
We can note that and have some discussion about that through the appropriate department.
And through your worship, I think the other thing is to not, people here seem to give figures that we can find no validation of where those figures came from. So we just need to be careful that we're all using the right figures and not figures that somebody has interpreted in a different way, because it makes it very difficult, because people then get very, so I take the point, but let's just get clarity on the figures and all the actual means, and that's we can always provide that additional information.
Through the chair, I think just going backwards again, it would be really useful for the comment you made about we've got to continue with the work program and to stop things. The public needs to know that. You know that. Many people wouldn't know what you know, and I think it would be useful just even some kind of post from the mayor to explain that to people, would just put those kind of things to bed. Thought on that, maybe?
Just through the chair, that we have provided quite a bit of information when we were going through the CCO process for clarity for folk, that people understood that work would not stop and wait. So there has been quite a bit of communication go out about what the intent is going to be when the CCO stands up. And I also note that we're now progressing through the CCO process, that actually the entity, even though it hasn't been stood up, the delivery by the three councils is now its own communication process going out, talking about where it will be seen to be standing up. So it's probably a combination of both of those things, really.
Yeah, but noted with that one, yes. So Linda Hardens is noted. 53, submission 54, Michelle Ermson. Noted. 55 is Ash.
Noted.
Do not have a last name with that one. 57, Hannah Hale.
56.
56 is down here.
Oh, sorry, May Riley.
Noted, along the lines of the pool.
57 is Hannah Hale. Noted. 58 is Paul Clement. Noted. It's probably Amy Breeze, submission 59. Noted. 61, Ngā Tahi.
60.
Sorry, Sue Davis, sorry. Sorry, Sue Davis. That's noted. Now we've worked down to 61 to Ngā Tahi. Tahi, sorry. Noted. Now, 62 is Teresa Pollock. University, the swimming, that's a little bit like if it's that bracket of rehabilitation, and we need to note the medical component of it. 63 is Arthur Dillon. Noted. 64 is Colin Wilson. Noted. 65, Riley and Pamela Armstrong. presented today. And again, there's some comments in there that we can use to guide us with the long-term plan work that's here. And 66 is Pamela's, which follows that same pathway. 67 is Chloe McBride. It's noted. Everybody happy with that? Yep. 68, Mark Nicholson. Noted. 69 is Eugenia Pantalo. Another friend shows a family that come up and use the poll because that's actually the wife of Mark Nicholson. So, yeah, and they are regular users, so it is a wider impact.
Yeah.
So again, noted.
Through the chair, the Southwestern Area School still open those?
No,
It's closed.
no, that shuts. Closed this week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's not heated.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it is heated now, it is. Sorry, yes, it is. Yes. Yes.
But all heated back in Australia.
Yes.
It always closes?
Yes.
And
Yes.
heated how?
Yeah.
So it's an efficiency thing in the winter? It's too expensive to use.
Cost.
And condensation.
Yeah. And it opens up again Labour weekend, isn't it? Somewhere around there?
About that time. Yeah, but remember the change rooms aren't in the building.
Yes.
Change rooms are outside. Because you can't.
Yeah. Submission 70 is Raywin Patton. It's a noted, I think, but also the comment on the rubbish bags. That is a comment that I've had actually on the streets from people. So.
I think that ties into the freedom camping thing we were talking about bags for tourists as well. You know, if we're going into the that could be long-term plan.
Yes, maybe part of that discussion is availability.
Yeah.
Yep. True, correct. We can extract that comment.
Sorry, they used to be like $2.50. How much are they now?
Sorry?
The bags.
Yeah, she says five.
No more than 5.
Oh, there's $6
So
now.
please don't increase.
I think there's $6 now.
Yep, so we'll take that into consideration with waste management. It's comes under the waste management as well as far as littering and so forth. So we'll have that in the conversation for the long-term plan. Next submission is Hemis from Federated Farmers. Noted. Right. And the dog registration he's got in there, because that's already managed through, and we've already done that with our dog control registration discussions. Managed accordingly.
Through the chair, is that regarding the amount of dogs?
Yes.
That the
Yes.
inherits without being charged?
Yes, yes. And when that was done, they were actually, it kept in the discussion point with that. It was an agreed point there with them.
Yeah.
Submission 72, Anne Jones. Sorry, LTP. Submission 73, Glencare Country Tourism Group.
The late one?
Oh,
Is this the late one?
no, not the late ones yet.
Whereas if anybody wants a printed copy of this report, we have got a printed copy available for
Of which we think.
of the form for submission for the printed copy rather than having it on your screens.
I think this is a consideration on, isn't it? There's a lot on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, there is. Now, they have a problem with the rating, and this comes up each year. But that's something that they've had discussions with already. But there's a lot in it. Um,
A lot of it's long-term and
Yep.
That's one that really does need to be tidied up though, because like I say, it's been submitted on time after time and they've obviously been promised an explanation and meeting. That possibly hasn't happened.
They've had explanations and we have massaged, or not massaged, I should say, reviewed that tourism rate. I'm looking at Stephen on how that's applied, etc. But I'm taking from this, are still not satisfied. It did come up in the meeting I had with them Wednesday last week, Janelle joined me for that. Yeah, so it's, we've still got some work and some communications to do with them and people sitting down with them and having that one-on-one.
yeah,
That's fine.
yeah.
Yes.
As well as, yeah, Stephen for him to be there. Yeah.
Through the chair, are they a lobby group for the Franz Joseph businesses or?
They're not a lobby group, they're actually the business lead for Glacier Country Tourism Group, Franz Joseph Fox Glacier, all the businesses.
Sort of like.
The Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, yes, very much so. So that's LTP referral and work in hand with Chief Executive and CFO. And myself formally putting something into writing regarding the Waiho River work, Future Friends work, because I've had multiple conversations with the community, but not, yeah, I'll start preparing something to go back as a written response. Submission 74 is Charlotte Mitchell. Not sure about receiving other people's rates bills. It's just something to be checked on as far as increases go, yeah.
Well, there's very little we can do other than if they do receive rates that are not to their address, they should return that to the council.
Yes.
You know, because all we can go for is the information that we're provided, so.
Exactly. Interesting, I know it's a rates bill. We take that as noted.
Probably a consideration, could you bring up fees again?
So if there's any comments in there that can be extracted to help us with the long-term work, we will extract, otherwise that is noted. Next submission is Cheryl Evans. Noted. And then we have Christy Wilson. That's a noted. We've already decided to receive the late submissions, so we move on to those. Submission 77 is Paul and Melanie Truman. It's a noted as well. So everybody agrees with that.
Through the chair, they made a commentary about the building consent fees. Was that at 77? Is that what we're on?
Yes.
Loss of revenue in inspections and administration due to parts increased competition for standalone DCAs.
Yep.
And you should probably take that into account.
Yes. Extract that for the long-term plan. Everybody happy with that? Submission 78, Riley Armstrong. We spoke to.
You just put a personal one in.
Okay. Yes,
Instead of personal
yes,
one.
that's
What is comments?
supported to the other submissions. 79 is Sharon Savage. That's another noted. Then we go on to 80, which is Kushla Taper.
Yeah.
8 noted.
Said 80, that's right.
Oh, sorry, no, 79.
It's a typo, 78 appears twice.
And 70, it is 80.
Oh, sorry.
Since I've 79, it was 80. And then the last one we have, which you possibly don't have a copy of, is from the Westport Swim Club. Have you received, have you got that? It came in late yesterday afternoon. Happy for you to read. It is basically a replica of what we've received from the other swimming clubs.
Did that go up on Teams? Sorry, excuse me, for the chair. So we can pop it up onto the chat.
So we'll put it on Teams so you can have access to it, so you've got it, you've got, yes, the full set. But again, we can use that for information to guide us with the long-term plan discussions next year on that one. So with that completes the review of each submission. Being that it's 11:35, we will move into the decision period. So there won't be adjourning just yet for lunch for anybody that's disappointed on that one. So after hearing from the submitters, we've gone through the written submissions. And now we will move to making decisions on the submissions by way of majority vote once we have everybody at the table. The final decisions will be made publicly available. We will start off with item 1. Once the councillor is back in the room, remittance of rate penalties.
And you can refer to the front end of the document, which will give you some supporting information for that section.
Yeah, so that, will have sent through. That, I'm very good on these.
Have we got the printed copies that I asked for of this paper, please? We had some printed copies that I wanted printed. No, but I'll go. Can we just get some printed copies?
So we want the summaries.
I just want the summary of these.
Yeah. I'm not sure the method on each option.
The 10 minutes while we wait for the quarantine.
Thumbs up.
Right, thanks, Dave. Right, so we will proceed into the next or the final stage of today's proceedings, which is the decisions. So we've heard from the submitters, we've worked through the written submissions. We will now make the decisions on the submissions by way of majority vote. So you've got the summary responses in front of you per each topic. You've also got the annual plan submission document here, which shows the options. And while you've got a summarised version of number of submissions, you've got them by numbers here on this page. And out beside that, you've got staff commentary as a reference point. So there is time for discussion, questions. Any questions will go through the Chief Executive, please, and she will direct any questions to the staff. We will not be conversing directly with the staff. That must go through the Chief Executive, please. So yes, there is time for discussion. There is time to ask questions. There's time to think, if you like, as far as if you're not 100% sure and want more information. This is by no means a snap, done, move on situation. The decisions we make now are the decisions that will be set in place for the annual plan going forward. And at the end of this, of course, with each preferred option, that will be moved and seconded, and there'll be a resolution on that decision. And we have a few of those to work through. So if everybody's ready and understands the process now, we will begin. So first up now is the remittance of rate penalties. So you've got the options 1 and 2. You've got the number of submissions. You've got the key themes summarised underneath that. So we will now go to for supporting comments. And we have Stephen sitting here who can potentially give us a impact on rates if needed as we go as well.
Thank you, Bishop. So really this is just the internal council commentary on the options, so that while you've had the submitters commentary, the staff commentary, please. So just so there's clarity. So for the remittance of rate penalty, our comment was that option 1 is the preferred option. Ratepayers already have the 3 months to pay their rates bill. It is not equitable on those ratepayers who pay on time. Final reminders can be sent before the interest is applied, so that ratepayers have one final chance to pay before penalties are applied. So just for completeness, you've now got the view that staff will forward for you. It's up for you now to debate.
Questions, comments, Councillor Maitland?
Through the chair, when we discussed this in the past, we brought up the point that some pensioners don't have access to email and they rely on post, which is not always reliable. And plus another submitted that often the rate bill goes to their address from someone else. So I think for 1 week, I think there's a safety valve. I prefer that we get stuck with the allowing that 1 week. The ability to pay their rates if they're over the limit. Yeah, that's option 2. Sorry.
Option 2. Yeah. Councillor Burdon.
Well, I disagree with Councillor Maitland. I think option 1 is the way to go. And while the post is not as fast as it used to be, it does not take 3 months for you to get from the council to your mailbox. You've still got plenty of time. So I don't think that extra week is necessary.
And also noting too that the comment here from staff is that final reminders can be sent before the interest is applied, so that ratepayers have one final chance to pay before penalties are applied. So we're looking at ways of improving options. Councillor McKenzie.
Through the chair, can I just clarify with the CFO that when the rates are struck, the rates notice is sent out at the beginning of the year, so people know what their payments are through those 5 payments, so that if you,
It's fully cognizant of the requirement.
yeah.
But please, the CFO can.
Yes, through the chair. So yeah, the rate bill is sent on the first demand is sent at the start of the year, sort of going in July when it's struck, and then it's sent out quarterly after every demand. So obviously people have the choice to pay up front, but then a quarterly rate demand is sent. So you get 4 reminders, and then the final. We don't send a reminder though. So we send you your rate bill. You have 3 months to pay. We don't send you a reminder. We send you the letter that now says you haven't paid on time. We've applied a 10% penalty. If you pay within 7 days, we'll remit the penalty. What I'm proposing as a kind of to understand what councillor comments have come back with is say before it falls due, maybe 2 weeks beforehand, we'll send a final reminder. Your rates are now due within 2 weeks. If you don't then pay by that, the next letter you get will be you now have a penalty and we've charged it. So there won't be the ability to remove the penalty.
Chair, does the sending that additional pre-warning counterbalance what we would collect in the interest? You know, if you're writing off the interest, like are we increasing our costs?
Yeah.
And for no real benefit?
How many people would pay in that last 2-week period? Because I know when I get an invoice, I set up the payment to be paid, you know, the day when it's due. So you might be sending out all those letters to people who've already set up a payment to pay. So it would be interesting to look at those numbers of how many people pay in that 2-week period.
Yeah, through the chair, to answer the first question, that the letters will be sent to those who are outstanding. So we have the ability to run. So it wouldn't be to the entire rate base at that point because it would be people who we knew hadn't paid. So we have the ability to do that. And then to answer your question, that yes, we do get a flurry at the end of people paying. We do see on receipts into the bank account and through cash that people do leave it till it is actually due, as I said, obviously depending on their situation. So I mean, in the past, I've said that you know the number we're talking about is approximately $80,000 is raised through this interest charge, which half is then remitted. So it's not an insignificant amount of money. So, and so, you know, Council's response is that we do give plenty of notice for it. So it isn't that you get a bill and 12 months later we charge you. We remind you on a quarterly basis that it's due. But we could add a final reminder in just to those people who are outstanding.
So long as the cost of it doesn't outweigh the benefit, isn't it really?
To the chair, the costs would be in physical letters going out by mail, not email reminders. Do we have an idea of how many of the rating units get physical rate bills?
It's really so it's still majority is through the post. Email is probably about 30%. But again, you know, we are talking, you know, we have 6,500 rate payers, most pay on time. So even if we're looking at 10% haven't, that's 600 letters. So it's not a huge cost to the council to actually send that final reminder to make sure that the rates are paid. And also, you know, the interest charge isn't a way for council to make money, it's a penalty to make people pay. The main aim is that the rates are paid, not that the penalty is paid. So people don't want to charge the penalty, we want them to pay their rates.
I personally would support option 1. I think any way we can save ratepayers money is a good option. I think there's plenty of opportunities to pay. And I would encourage that final reminder to go out maybe a bit more than 7 days, so 2 weeks, like we mentioned, just so there's enough time for to get through the post and whatnot.
So as far as discussion, questions or anything else, I'm seeing people sort of look like they've made their minds up on this already. Does anybody want some more information, some more questions on this? Councillor Maitland?
Through the chair, I'd support what Joseph's just said. If there was a 2-week reminder prior to the bill to be paid.
So,
What Stephen's please, what Stephen said is.
Yeah. Sorry, one last thought for the chair. There is mechanisms in place to encourage people to get off of physical rates bills and move to email. Because some people get both currently, eh?
It does come through the chair. It comes through on your rate notice, and also it's on the envelope. Just say, we encourage if you would like for you to have your rates through the email address, please use this through.
Is there a mechanism for savings? Like in, you know, for your bank, you save $1 or $2 if you get a digital statement rather than a physical statement. Anyway,
Potentially.
that can negate the cost. If we're worried about the cost of mailing out reminders, that's.
I guess there's just not a huge balance on people who want to see.
No,
So, we put in place those mechanisms that we do prompt each time. And people are asked when they call, they talk about it, because I know when I'm querying something on my roast, but the situation, we want to get it in paper form, don't you want to go on email? No. So
That'd be a generational
I'm
thing,
probably
isn't
one
it?
of them. Oh, okay.
But I do think that, the younger people are probably more than happy to stop getting.
that's
Bills in
fine.
the- yes.
So they've got the choice to do that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it is everybody's
Yeah.
choice. We
Yeah.
cannot force that on people. And also bearing in mind too, is that, connectivity here is not particularly flash.
Yeah.
So there is that impact too. People would sooner have the written document in their hand to read. It's reliable.
Of course. Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's a different conversation for now. So, sorry,
So
Steve.
just to share as well, obviously with direct debit is an option. I appreciate that's not, again, for everyone, but there is an option to pay by direct debit, and that's, fortnightly, monthly, quarterly.
Yes.
And that's something that we push every time that we communicate as well, so that we don't have this weird issue with late payments.
And there has been a significant change over a not too long a period of time, because we never used to offer, people can pay weekly now, those options are there to fit with people's budgets. Hopefully to make it more manageable. Councillor Burnham.
In terms of getting people from the hard copy postal invoice to an online one, the banks and power companies and things have done it by charging you now to receive a hard copy. So your power bill and your bank statement for those things. If you don't pay, you don't get what they charge you. And a lot of people opt out. We now deliver next to no power bills or bank statements now at the end of the month. So it's worked well in those. So it's an option there to add a fee on to receive.
That's
it.
my point.
And that's to try and get people onto that digital way of receiving them. But I'm not trying to kill the postal service or anything.
So that's something that we can consider that. And we can also engage, with the general public when we're talking to someone, just say, by the way, start that conversation.
Could be an LTP.
Yeah,
For the chair, at present, there was one submitted, talked about if people pay their rates right at the start of the year. Is there any sort of relief, like
yes, it's 10% discount,
10%, okay,
and that's on the rates bill, it's on the statement.
right, that's good.
How much? 10%?
10%.
The council website says 2.5.
That question was answered earlier on, and we were told 10.
That could be error on my behalf, apologies. Yeah, check what check what the. Yeah, I suspect it's 2.5 and it's on the website, but the website is correct. So yeah.
I think you raised that, Greg, because it was, we'll check that and make sure that's right. Yeah, it's quite high.
Yeah.
I think change it up for us all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a season, isn't it? Oh, yes. Yes. No pressure. Right, so where are we at with this? More time to think, show, talk, ask questions. I'm really happy to
I'm happy with.
make
Ready to vote?
decisions. Sorry? Happy to make a vote? Okay, so remittance of rate penalties. Option 1 received the least submissions. Option 2 received 34. But what is council's preferred option? Option 1, do we have an agreement on that? I'll be asking for a show of hands on this, please. Option 1. Option 2. Option 2 is your preferred option. Who's taking the voting? You are, Sam? Thank you. Okay, thank you. Yes, so option 1 was council, just to be clear, council no longer remits refunds, interest charges on overdue rate demands. That is the preferred option of council. Option 2, council continues to remit refund penalties where the ratepayer pays within 7 days of the overdue notice We have one councillor with a show of hand on that one. Preferred option. So option 1 is the preferred option. So can I have a mover and a second to please resolve that council adopts option 1 for the remittance of rate penalties in the annual plan for 2026, 2027.
Happy.
Councillor Burden, thank you very much. A seconder, please. Councillor Mackenzie, thank you very much. All in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you.
Confirmed it is 2.5, it's on my rates bill.
2.5.
10% for being late, 2.5 discount for being early. We're paying for it.
Thank you for that clarification. So, with 1, council adopts option 1 for the remittance of rate penalties in the annual plan for 2026, 2027. Right. Next, we have changes to pool operating hours. Option 1 is all pool users operate within standard opening hours, to which we had 13 submissions. Option 2 is council continues to allow use of the pool outside standard operating hours, which we had 47 submissions. There's no staff comment on this. So councillors, if you've got any questions, discussion points that you want to have on this. Councillor.
There's something to say, to the chair. Originally, when we talked about this, I was sort of leaning towards option 1, but now understanding the full context of how important it is that people can use it after hours, I'm moving to option 2, especially in hindsight of our closure of the pool. When we do get it back open, I think we just need to make sure that these groups can get back into what they want, are doing, just to pay benefit to the community. I do have both of my children are involved in swim school and swim club, so I'll just add out there. So this frames my opinion a little bit, but I would like to see a bit more work done, obviously, in the long-term plan around user pay models, just increasing, but maybe other ways to have greater savings than $6.5 grand. But yeah, I would support too.
I'll go to councillor Mackenzie, then come to Bart.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through the chair, I just think Kelly's point was the most pertinent about if we close off at a certain time, we're not going to get the revenue from them using the pool beyond that time to save $6.5 grand if they're paying $3 or $4 grand already for that extra time. It just doesn't offset well.
So in essence,
so I think
the saving will be halved.
Keeping it as a status quo is probably what the community wants.
Just through the chair, I just wondered whether there were a couple of points that were raised with the discussion earlier, and I just wondered whether Lee, as the GM for regulatory and enforcement, could just give you a bit more information. One of them was around the swim. I know it's not related to full operating hours, but I think it's important we pay a lot, which was the swim lane costs in the term of swim lane and why it was that. It would be good if you could just get an understanding of why that is what's currently being proposed. And the other thing is if we could cover off that bit about the closure of the pool, that means that other people can't use it. Those people that would be able to use it. And then maybe, I'm not sure if it's a health and safety reason, but I'll leave that to Lee to give us a recognition of that, just so that we get a full picture before your decision.
Thank you, through the chair. So from the lane costs that we currently have, the swim school and swim club are at different rates. And so the swim club has a rate currently of around about $8 per lane per hour. And through the fees and charges, we're looking to increase that from $8 to $10. The swim school in commercial operation pays $15 per lane. They use one lane, and that's an all-day cost. And we are, through the process, proposing to increase that to $30 an hour because it's a commercial entity. So Riley and Pam were speaking earlier, it's a significant increase. The numbers of children that are going through that process and balancing that out to look at that user pays versus rating contribution. That's why there's a differentiation to those costs. So that's the first point.
That's all easy.
Just through the chair, does that mean they don't pay to enter the pool on an individual basis? They're just paying for the lane, and then they can bring in as many kids as they want to do their swim school?
That's correct.
Okay.
5 minutes either side of their lesson to vacate.
Yeah, but we're not charging individual access.
There's no entry fee.
So what's the cost differential between charging them individual entry versus the lane? Like what are we losing?
That would depend on the numbers that are coming to the swim lesson or each of the different swim lessons that they provide. And that's really difficult to give a figure in relation to that. I mean, obviously, the entry fee to come in and swim for a period of time, then have the lesson, then continue swimming or not, as the case may be. It's difficult for me to give you a figure to that.
I'm just trying to get in my head, are we better off charging them individually or per lane? You know, which is economically better for the council?
That's something that we can pull into the long-term plan work next year.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because we can then review the whole process.
You can do a whole, yes, review. I think it was, through the chair, what we were trying to do when we brought this through the annual plan was trying to get to a more balanced view, knowing that there hasn't really been a very comprehensive review perhaps of the fees and charges in terms of relativity before. But we were also very aware, and I know we've got them through quite a few of the submissions as well, about the fact that cost differential was low. So we've been balancing, not trying to put too much pressure on those folk that don't have a lot of income that's available, but we're also recognising the fact they are a commercial entity and we need to be fair and reasonable to everybody because it is being paid for by ratepayers here. So it's really, I guess, our first attempt to try and get a better balance, but the LTP will be our real opportunity to go back and really pull apart the metrics and why and comparisons against other areas. But just for the sake of completeness of why that's done this way.
Well, through the chair, all we need to decide is the opening hours. That's our role today.
Yeah, but as Lee was just providing background, he's done one part, but he's still got to do that.
Yeah, but yes, there's a lot of work to be done towards the LTP next year for this. Brian?
Just through the chair, like it's a big asset, but I'm only tied up there. Let's open the door and use it. If it's heated, let's use it. You know, it's not going to cost much for a few extra hours of staff. Just use it.
Excuse me, through the chair, is there any opportunity to talk about the fact that if people are there on the facility using it, can they have siblings, etc.? Is the other issue raised?
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, that's the second point to get to is that that's a carryover of what has been done previously. Absolutely, it's an opportunity for us to look at that. The facility is open to it. So the point, Councillor, is how we maximising the use of the facility when we have various operations taking place. So that's absolutely something I'm looking to.
And again, that will have to roll through to next year's LTP.
Not necessarily, Your Worship. We can look at that from an operational point of view. Once your decision, to Councillor Gillette's point, once that decision's been made, then with myself and with the team and the Chief Executive, we're just looking at the operation for that to maximise the benefit of the facility that's open. That's an operational matter.
I think that would be gratefully acknowledged by councils collectively around the table to do that. It's very pleasing that that's the case, so thank you for that. So knowing that, is everybody ready to make a decision on this? I'm getting some nods around the table. Changes to pool operating hours. Option 1 is all pool users operate within standard opening hours. Option 2 is council continues to allow use of the pool outside standard operating hours. And as Lee has just said, they will look at the operation component to that, to some changes that can be made following a decision today. So is everybody prepared to make a vote? Those in favour of option 1? Those in favour of option 2? And that's unanimous. Thank you, everybody, for that. Excellent. So can I have a mover and a seconder, please, so that we can resolve that council adopts option 2 for the changes to pool operating hours and the annual plan for 2026-2027. Move Councillor Mackenzie, seconded by Councillor Munns. Thank you, everybody, for that. Excellent. Right, moving on to changes to museum operating hours. Page 12. Option 1 is reduced operating hours to better align with seasonal visitor demand. Option 2 is to further reduce operating hours to prioritise cost savings. And option 3 is council continues with the current operating hours. Bearing in mind that these number of submissions, the majority favoured option 2. Option 1, sorry. Sorry.
And there is comment.
And there is comment from staff on this one. So,
staff have indicated, in terms of the council position, is that option 1 is the preferred option. The change in the current status is from our earlier closing time on Saturday, Sunday, and public holidays from 10 to 3. It also means that during the winter months, the museum will be closed on a Sunday and a Monday. I do note that there is an opportunity to trial it for a year, in which we could get some metrics that would actually support the decision going into the long-term plan. But if we wanted to be consistent with other business enablement call services, we could look to operate between 10 and 2 on Saturday, Sunday, public holidays. The museum manager does advise, though, they are getting a steady flow of traffic between 2 and 3. So just for completeness. We need to get a little bit more refined about that and actually get some foot traffic numbers as we've done over other areas within the business enablement.
questions? Councillor Mackenzie.
How is the building heated? Like, just opening up for 2 hours, is that more expensive than having it open?
For an additional 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's probably negligible, to be honest. If you've opened, it would be different if you were opening up just for an hour or an hour or 2 hours, but you're not. It's tagged. You're taking it off the end of the day.
I would assume being a museum, it would be at constant temperature most of the time. It wouldn't be.
I think it has to be. Some areas do,
yeah,
but it's not. It's never going to fall below a certain area. And it's never going to go highly above.
Yeah.
They do, and then you have the managed temperature control of certain things. That's slightly different. Just heating the building temperature for people to walk through would require some action, but it wouldn't be. It's not like this building.
Because if I can, when the museum was upgraded, that was part of a system that was put in. It was one of the first things we were shown, wasn't it? It was quite an expensive system because the temperature was very relevant to what was held there. So yeah, so you don't go in there and walk in as somebody visiting the museum to a heated facility in that respect. Questions? So we've had a comment that the foot traffic between the hours of 2 and 3 is actually, do we know what that's relevant to? Do we have buses pulling at that time? Do we know whether local or international or?
No, we don't have that.
We don't have any measures.
Requirement, not to that. That requires additional work that we put in place.
And that's current, it's not winter. We don't know again.
I would have to say, just total completeness through the chair. We do have an exemplary voluntary system that supports the museum, does a lot of work to take the pressure off the museum staff, and we should acknowledge that they make the time and effort to do that. But it doesn't alter the position. That's why you've got the 3 options.
Councillors, do you want more time to mull and think this through?
I'll get the option one.
Councillor Martin.
Just reinforcing that I've got a disclosed.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Clear.
Yeah, very much. I support saving some money. It's not clear to me. I'm not comfortable with the solution of ours is optimum. I'm just worried about Sunday and domestic tourism impact on that. I mean, I'd support it if we get some metrics and optimize it. If I have a plan to review it, but closing it for Sunday, I'm not sure.
Chair, I would reinforce Stephen's point is that I would have gone to events Saturday, Sunday, but most people wouldn't go in there Monday, Tuesday, I wouldn't think. And those would be the better days to shut it down.
Yeah.
Because most people are domestically are working Monday, Tuesday. And even tourists, they kind of plan their big city stops over weekends because there's more activity going on. It's my thinking, but I don't know follow this thing.
Councillor Walker.
I agree. We brought this up when we had our initial workshop. Is there, if we go for an option, is there some capacity for the staff to maybe alter the 2 days that it's closed? Like it says Sunday, Monday, is that locked in, or could it be moved to a Monday, Tuesday, even if we go with one of the options today?
I mean, anything's doable. It's
Yeah.
just that we will need to change some rosters and it's the staffing and
Yeah, it's operational.
It'd be quite a bit of a
Yeah.
juggle, but to do that. I wonder whether it's also helpful, Steve, are you able to tell us the rate in terms of the percentage of the options, in terms of what the effect on the rate would be? Because it might be that, you know, for the quantum we're talking about, it might be that that's useful for folk. Can we talk about that?
It's in there, it says the
Just
rate.
between the two, there's 1.03%
Yeah.
difference. Yeah.
Through the chair, you don't pay people more on a Sunday versus during the week. It's just public holiday, right?
Only on public holidays, I think we pay additional.
Which would mostly fall on a Monday.
So if we change, then we'd still have to be doing employment relation work with that.
I'd move for option one if we could alter it to Monday, Tuesday.
Well, if they come to town for the weekend, they've got all day Saturday to go to the team. They just got to organise themselves. It's not that big a deal. You go home on Sunday.
Councillor Munns.
I like the idea of the options, try it. I had a bus pull into the cab and they pulled in half an hour before they were coming to New Zealand on a Monday. So the buses do come through on a Monday. They were fully loaded, 25 people. So if you close Monday, you didn't miss out on those tourist buses coming through.
Yeah, but you need to close.
They come in.
Yes, yeah, so that's, yes.
I think it's the domestic tourism through the winter months. I think that's relevant because
Pretty quiet.
We probably get more domestics, I would thought, through the winter than we get internationals, in my opinion. But
And if the fuel and stuff, at least it's going to travel as much.
yeah,
But that's short term or the long term.
yeah. There's more analysis needs to be done.
Yes, and through the chair, I guess the issue here is until you can actually see the metrics of the numbers you're talking about as well.
Yeah.
You know, like we can all make anecdotal view of what we think this is happening. It's difficult until we can get that footfall and see what, and whether they're domestic or whether they're international, to actually give you a good quality. We provided an option because it is an option, but if you're looking for more data to be more assured of the decision you make, then it really does come down to the LTP process about giving you all those metrics. Because I can't give them to you within a time frame that will enable you to make a decision before the adopted plan.
So I think that's certainly apparent that we need to have some work done building up for the long-term plan as far as the metrics go on the museum. So we'll note that, acknowledge that, put that there. So going back to options then. Do you need any more time to make a call on the third option?
I'm ready to vote.
You ready to vote? So changes to museum operating hours. Option 1 is reduce operating hours to better align with seasonal visitor demand. Those in favour of option 1, please show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Option 2 is further reduce operating hours to prioritise cost savings. Show of hands, please.
Well, I'll probably abstain. I can't see why we can't, in this forum, alter that option 1. Because it makes no difference to the saving, or we're picking 2 random days, Sunday and Monday. Why can't we choose Monday and Tuesday? Is it that much of a big deal?
It was a staffing issue.
Sorry, if we can just go through the chief executive, please.
Sorry. The issue I have is I can't give you an absolute assurance that it's not an issue from an employment relations issue with staff. And therefore I couldn't, if you pass it, I may not be able to fulfill it. That's the problem I have. If I can tell you, Garrett, probably no, look, we can do it, then that would be fine, but I can't. So I'd have to get advice on it.
Go for option 1.
Option 1. So if we can amend that, Councillor Martin, are you abstaining? You're abstaining for conflict or perceived conflict reasons. Thank you. If we just note that as well. That takes us to option 3, of course, is the council continues with the current operating hours. Is there anybody that supports that option? No. So if we can just revert back to option 1, please. We've got it crystal clear on support. In favour of option 1, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Myself included. It's 8. Thank you. And 1 abstention being Councillor Martin, perceived conflict. Thank you very much for everybody for that. So option 1 is the preferred option. Move for a seconder, please, so we may resolve that council adopts option 1. The changes to museum operating hours and the annual plan for 2026-2027. Can I move for a seconder, please?
Yep.
Councillor Manera, thank you very much. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Gillette, thank you very much.
What I can do though, in the interim period, is look at how we can start gathering the information that will help inform, and I'll keep updating it. And if it does look like, with a little bit more reflection that the numbers in the other items stack up, I don't think that would be a significant thing if we did want to change the open days later in the year. We could look at that as a council without having to change the ending days. Is that
That's right.
I think that sounds good way.
You don't want to change the wording, just saying close 2 days a week.
No, I'd rather keep it as it is now, and then I can come back to, I don't think it's such a significant change that would trigger anything else.
Okay.
But I'd like to have the information in front of you before you made another call on that. But I will look to get that information so we can, as we go, we'll get it.
Thank you for that. Next notion that motion was carried for the museum operating hours. All right, next on the list is the changes to the library operating hours, page 14. Right, option 1 is reduce the operating hours to better align with usage and operating costs. Option 2 is further reduce operating hours to prioritise cost savings. Option 3, the council continues with the current operating hours, being that option 3 was the preferred option from our submitters. Councillors, library, we have a comment from staff.
This is quite a long comment on this. Option 1 is the preferred option for the team working in the library. A number of discussions have been held with the library manager around hours and the reduction from the 10 to 4 to 10 to 2, which allows for work-life balance, especially for staff required to work weekends. The 10 to 2 hours also align with the other business enablement services closing at this time, i.e. potentially the museum or the eyesight. Option 2 does not see the opportunity for further savings. However, an hourly to the community could be impacting on a Saturday, especially for many families who travel up for sports, etc., for the Saturday morning episodes, and the opportunity of trialling option 1 for a year with some data specifics to support the change is something that could be looked at if both felt that was appropriate.
Thank you, Bob, for that. Right, questions, please. Comments? Thoughts? Oh, sorry, I thought you could hear, but I didn't see it up. I thought you were just thinking.
That's okay. Through the chair, I just a question for Megan, if that's okay. Has any work been done on generating other revenue from the library in terms of renting a space to groups, or like to offset savings that option 1 might muster?
So just in response to Councillor Mackenzie, so there is a room hire facility currently. So there's a meeting room at the back of the library. We have had initial conversations around potential fees and charges that could be looked at moving forward. Currently, they do a lot of support to the community in terms of printing out documentation. I mean, it's not due to small photocopy fee that they take. They do a lot of work currently kind of helping users to use their mobile phones or kind of starting up technology and things like that. So there are opportunities to be had. We just haven't done a lot in that space in terms of how we could look to create some other potential revenue in those spaces at the moment.
And through the chair, look, we're really talking about rats and mice when you're talking about those sort of facilities. And that's what makes the library for folk here, that they feel that they've got a facility that they can be safe and go and ask things for. And for the sake of, personally, I'd be very hesitant that I don't think that's what you're meaning in terms of the charges that you would be looking at. The room hire, it's a room. It's certainly not what you would expect if you were looking for a professional room hire. It's just a room that people can use, and occasionally they do. We have the toy library that works out of the back of that as well. So there's not a great deal of opportunity for us at this point to be looking at doing anything additional to really offset that. I think the real issue here is more around the balance of when we looked at the options, it's the actual team feedback that they gave us. And we're also supported really well by volunteers who also offset us at the library. So it's a bit of a balancing act, really. But there was quite a keenness from the team for that reduction, for that, because of the fact that it cuts into that whole weekend experience. That was sort of, while acknowledging people want to come in the morning, it does make a difference between that, closure at the end of the day on the Saturday.
Through the chair, just to respond so far, I think it's a key service for the community. And option 3, in my opinion, would be the way to go. We're paying rent on it, so if you close it down, we're still paying rent on it, and we might as well utilize it as we're currently using it, and give the ratepayers that are paying for the facility anyway the option to come in when they can.
Yeah, Megan.
If I may respond to Councillor Mackenzie, the impact for staff working these weekends has been quite significant. So the model that's currently in there is that there's staff that are on a Monday to Friday contract, but some of them have to fill in and work a weekend component of the roster. So there's a time and lieu element too that starts to come into play for those staff having to work those weekends. 10 to 4, they say from 2 to 4, the foot traffic into the library is quite reduced at times. So it may have been regular conversations that I have had with the library manager and myself. So, you know, from a staff perspective, I'm listening to those conversations. And yeah, I think for a lot of them, you know, you don't get a Saturday if you're working from 10 to 4. And yeah, I would like to support them in the 10 to 2 option that we have had discussions around.
If I can, I favour the option 1, and I think it's quite nice that we actually can respect the staff's preference with this, because they are the ones that deliver the service. But what I do also like is the fact we're looking at trialling for a year to the opportunity to get the data. Because so many times, we've just had this with the other ones, we don't have the data. So if we can use this period to gain the data, we can then make potentially a more informed decision next year when we move into the long-term plan and get some proper structure in there. But I think it's good to be able to acknowledge staff perception of this by impact. Yeah, because I mean, you know, that's something that's come forward. Yeah, the swimming pool and the library are very much key factors to our wider community. They're really important parts of it.
Through the chair, I think, you know, ultimately for me, it's do the community have access to the facility? Still, and I think with option 1, they still do. The 5 to 5:30 window, people might have to adjust their habits because maybe finish work at 5, wanted to get there, but you had the Saturday time to get in. And I think the technology is there where you can reserve books online, right? Come in on a Saturday and pick them up. So there'll be a sacrifice in the community and a change of habit, but the facility is still accessible to everybody. And we're giving some work-life balance to the staff, which I think is great. It is a moderate saving, so I do think ultimately we need to come back and look at this, but I would support option 1.
I can see some head nodding. Is everybody therefore ready to go to a vote, or does anybody want any more time to ask questions? No. Right, so changes to library operating hours. Option 1 was reduce operating hours to better align with usage and operating costs. Those in favour with option 1? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And option 2, further reduce operating hours to prioritise cost savings. Option 3, council continues with the current operating hours. So can I have a mover, a seconder, please, and resolve that council adopts option 1, the changes to library operating hours in the annual plan for 2026-2027. Thank you, Councillor Manera, seconded by Councillor Maitland. All in favour? Carried. Motion carried. Thank you very much, everybody, on that. But I do want to reiterate, I think to gather the data is going to be key for us going forward. So, right, next on the agenda is the changes to the eyesight operating hours. Option 1, reduce operating hours to better align with demand and operating costs. Option 2, further reduce operating hours to prioritise cost savings. And option 3, council continues with the current operating hours. And it's interesting with submissions because it was probably the most level of returns and opinions on this one versus others. Staff commentary.
So the staff commentary on this was that option 2 is the preferred option, recognising that there's a notable difference in an earlier closing time of 30 minutes Monday to Friday, which is the cost saving for staff. And I think it probably, we've already acknowledged that the eyesight and the detail about the eyesight, foot traffic, the model of whether it's performing as it needs to for us in a tourism experience process needs to be taken through to the LTP process. So there's a full picture of that undertaken, but just for this, if you like, day-to-day operational view, option 2 is the preferred council position.
Questions, please? Councillor Maitland.
So there was a submission that suggested that could be combined with the museum.
That is an option that we
Yeah.
can discuss for the long-term plan and the
Yeah.
future of it.
Mhm.
Yes.
So
So
that's
that's
still-
noted for that next year,
Right.
the long-term plan. It's not something that we can do now
Right,
as part of this process.
so what we're doing now is just between
Between these options. But as I said, we noted that for comment for the long-term plan next year. No questions, no clarification. Is everybody ready to make a decision? Okay. So changes to isolate operating hours. Reduce option 1, reduce operating hours to better align with demand and operating costs. Anybody in favour? No. Option 2, further reduce operating hours to prioritise cost savings. Show of hands, that is unanimous. Thank you very much. So option 3, continuation, I won't touch on that one. So can I have a move or a seconder, please? Resolve that council adopts option 2. The changes to isolate operating hours in the annual plan 2026-2027. Move or a seconder, please. Councillor Burden, Councillor Gillette. All in favour? Carried. Motion carried. Thank you very much, everybody. Moving on to library reserves. Now, which is 4.6, page 18. Option 1 is do not fund depreciation for the library reserve in the next financial year. Option 2 is continue to fund depreciation to the library reserve. Again, submissions, bar the no response, are very close, and there is also staff comments, so if I can hand those to Bar, please.
Thank you. So for this one, it's an interesting one, this one, because it is about balancing a prudent approach as opposed to perhaps being a little bit too generous in terms of what one would expect. So the response from us has certainly been that option 1 is the preferred option, and that it's a 1-year freeze while the reserve is actually reviewed, acknowledging the fact that 7.5 years worth of forecast expenditure would be covered by the current expenditure. I think everyone was very clear when this came up for discussion internally that there's a real value and no one wants to lose the opportunity to actually be able to replace such assets. But you have to be pragmatic about what the level of that you keep in reserve to do that is. And we believe this is the best balance of doing that without putting ourselves at any financial risk.
Councillor Walker?
So my understanding that you're proposing not funding it for a year, you review it, and then you'll adjust the level of funding so we don't get into the situation again.
Which is what we would do through the LT.
Yeah.
And through our financial policy as
Because
well.
obviously we've been putting too much aside.
And if I can just hand to the CFO, because I think he feels a need to.
So it was just through the chair that there was a comment in one of the submissions. I just wanted to clarify that there was, I think someone made a comment that using reserves for other options is illegal, and that is correct. That's not what we're proposing. We're proposing just to freeze the reserve. We're not proposing to withdraw from the reserve. So it's just the top up of the reserve. So I just wanted to make that clear to that comment that was made on one of the submissions. We're not drawing out of the reserve. It's not topping it up this year.
Do we know how the initial figure was come to?
I would suggest not at this point. So someone with good intent, I would imagine, and felt that it was a prudent way to go forward, and then, but it's something, and you need to review these things as to what goes forward. And it honestly has been done. So in our tidy up is where we discovered it, and it's quite clearly something that we can deal with now, and this is a good way to approach it without, we're not throwing the baby out with bathwater, and
Any further questions on that? Okay. So everybody's ready. Library reserves. Option 1 is do not fund depreciation for the library reserve in the next financial year. Show of hands for support of that, please. That is unanimous. So we do not need to go to option 2. So move for a seconder, please. Resolve that council adopts option 1 for the library reserves in the annual plan 2026-2027. I've moved for a seconder, please. Councillor Munns, Councillor Maitland, all in favour? Carried. Thank you, everybody, for that. Heritage Park, 4.7, page 19. Option 1 is council no longer funds the depreciation on Heritage Park buildings and releases funds already held in reserve. Option 2, council continues to fund depreciation on Heritage Park buildings, even though the Heritage Park would be responsible for their replacement. And we have a staff commentary on this too, please.
Again, another interesting position. It's a financial position. The CFO has educated me to this. I'll see if I get it right. That our financial policy is correct. We should be applying depreciation, but we should apply it for those situations, unlike this one, where we actually would not use it for the building. We would not replace the building if something happened. And that's always been the case. So the principle is correct, but the application of the principle has been applied in the wrong context. Yes, I'm getting the nod, so I think I'm reasonably right. And I'd just like to highlight that not rating for the depreciation has no direct cash impact on the support for the heritage park as it plays out. So it's a financial position, not any withdrawing of funding from the heritage park. So I'll hand over to you.
No, just through the chair, that's correct. And just to clarify what CEO's comments, it's the cash funding of the depreciation. So we will continue accounting standard to depreciate the building. We just want cash funds that depreciation. So just running accounting.
Sorry, Councillor Walker.
So to the chair, what happens to the cash that's already in those?
Through the chair, we looked at it. It was actually minimal. It's something that's only happened in this. Going forward, it's not a historic issue. So I think it was, from my memory, it was less than $5,000.
Okay.
It's a change, and also the depreciation has increased significantly this year because of new buildings. So in prior year, we weren't setting aside significant money. So there isn't a lump sum that we can.
So that money would be trapped because you just said you can't use it for anything else.
Yeah, it would be. Well, we would request a council resolution to release the funds, but it's minimal.
And just for clarification, that when we say that it's not that we're taking the money out of that to use something else, the fact that we wouldn't be using the cash to do it just means it doesn't get in the overall allocation of the funding across the council. It doesn't get an allocation. So you're not taking it from here to give it there. Yes. This doesn't get to here in the first place.
Yes.
So just Councillor Maitland.
No.
Councillor Maitland.
It's okay, it's been good.
Lovely. Councillor Martin.
Yeah, have we completed the review of the agreement with the Westland Heritage Park?
Yes, it has been. The memorandum of understanding has been done with.
And it's quite clear that the replacement of buildings would.
Yes, we would require a horse and buggy currently for the Heritage Park, but I believe that has been taken care of.
Through the chair, are the buildings, the insurance for the buildings up there, are they funded by council or by the industrial park themselves?
Council. If I go to the centre, I think.
Through the chair, as per the agreement, yes, we fund the insurance, rates, costs, and electricity and water. So that was in the agreement, and that was brought up at the last council meeting when we discussed it in regard to them putting the new building inside.
And just to note, through the chair, that's historical, but that's been done. That's an agreement.
Anything further on the Heritage Park? Right, so everybody's ready. Heritage Park, option 1, council no longer funds the depreciation on Heritage Park buildings and releases funds already held in reserve. Those in favour? Unanimous once again. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please, and resolve that council adopt option 1 for the Heritage Park and Annual Plan 2026-2027. Councillor Mackenzie, thank you very much. Seconder, Councillor Maitland, thank you very much. All in favour? Carried. Thank you very much, everybody. Right, so, sorry, yes, so that brings us to the actual end of this process. So our one final motion is that we resolve that council has heard and received the written and verbal submissions. The council deliberated on the submission of the draft Annual Plan 2026-2027 in the open part of the meeting. And 3, the chief executive be instructed to make the necessary amendments to the draft Annual Plan 2026-2027 and present the Annual Plan 2026-27 the ordinary council meeting on 25 June 2026. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please, to permit that resolution? Thank you, Councillor Manera. Councillor Gillette, thank you very much. All in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you, everybody, for that. For those that's the first annual plan process, next year will be more interesting even again because we got the long-term plan. So take what we've just done and treble it, basically. So with that, if there's nothing further, I will declare the meeting closed at.
While we're live, do you just want to announce the change of date for the next meeting? 4th of June.
4th of June, actually, I will thank you, Sam, for that. So while everybody's here and we are live, the next council meeting has had a date change. It will now be on June the 4th. Everybody can make sure that adjustment's been made in their diary. To anybody that's online or is going to come connect back in and review this, that is acknowledging that, and also the public notification will go out accordingly. The other thing I want to say to councillors is you will have an email regarding a visit to the Western Heritage Park. That is on Thursday, the 4th of June at 11 a.m. We have allowed an hour. It's a little bit of leeway to go over that because it does take time to go around the Heritage Park with the members there and go through. This is the council's walk around on that asset. So you've all had notice of that. Just ensure that's in your diary. There'll be a lunch break or time for that between finishing there and getting here for the 1 o'clock council meeting. So what I would also like to do is thank members of the public that may be still attached to the Zoom. Thank you for your time, and councillors and staff for their time today, and in particular staff for all the work that goes into putting this paper together and reviewing the submissions and summarising everything for us. A great deal of thanks go to you all because that's over and above your day jobs that work goes into. So greatest of gratitude to you all. So with that, I will declare the meeting closed at 12:50.